urgency and commitment to resolving the 18-year-old issue has left many feeling hopeless. The ordeal comes after the department blocked more than 2 million IDs that were flagged for potential fraud. Tandoluhle Ngobo reports.
Disgruntled citizens hurled insults at the Home Affairs Department officials who vowed to resolve their matter of blocked IDs with urgency. The protesters say they no longer trust the department's promises, adding that only visible action and not words will restore their faith. Organization representing people whose IDs have been lost, Soil for Africa, say it's no surprise that the people do not trust what they have been told. Deputy Chairperson Sidiba Nabiyana.
I can tell you now, these people are more disgruntled than ever because they've lost hope in the operations of the Home Affairs.
The organization has expressed concern that the prolonged impact on young people who have been affected could drive them to extreme frustrations that could lead them to self-harm. Tandoluhle Ngobo, Eyewitness News.
And peace talks in Egypt between Israel and Hamas to end the Gaza war have been described as positive so far. AFP is reporting that people close to the meeting say the discussions went well last night, with the first round lasting about 4 hours. The day one talks covered the proposed exchange of prisoners and captives, a ceasefire, and a humanitarian aid entering Gaza. The meeting is expected to resume later today, which marks 2 years since the Hamas attack on Israel that killed more than 1,000 people and saw about 200 people taken captive. Since then, Israeli forces have killed at least more than 67,000 Palestinians and wounded many in a war that has been described as a genocide by the United Nations inquiry, leading genocide scholars and leading human rights groups, including Israeli non-profit organizations. US President Donald Trump, who presented the peace plan, says talks are progressing well as negotiations continue in Egypt.
I think we're doing very well, and I think Hamas has been agreeing to things that are very important. And I think Hamas now has been, all I can say is they've been fine. They've been fine. I hope it's going to continue that way. I think it will. I really think we're going to have a deal. We have a really good chance of making a deal.
Gold is trading at $3,957.27 an ounce. The rand is at 17.19 to the dollar, 23.13 to the pound, 20.09 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.74 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 North. This is between Vincent Chabalala Road and the Baklu interchange. This is due to long-term roadworks taking place along this route. Please be on the lookout there while traveling. On the M1 South, some delays between the Baklu interchange and Corlett Drive.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 28 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner Konazi will make his first appearance before Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry to elaborate on his allegations of corruption in the criminal justice system.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show on this Tuesday, the 7th of October. It's wonderful to have you with us here on 702. I hope you're good this morning. The 702 open line starts now on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Parliament is currently hearing the testimony of the KZN Police Commissioner Konazi. I think the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee has just started now, and that's where they'll be hearing Konazi's explosive claims of criminal infiltration. It's beginning today. I think on Thursday they're scheduled to hear from the National Police Commissioner, Fanima Semola. My hope for this parliamentary inquiry is that there will be more probing than what we've seen at the Mandlanga Commission. As I've said before, I was a little bit disappointed that there are certain things that were not probed further. There are things that I wish they would have questioned, that I think they should have questioned more, that they didn't. And maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe they know that they're going to deal with that in other phases of the commission. I am not sure. But I have no doubt, that people like Julius Malema, there are other, like Glenys Breitenbach, who's there in the ANC? I think Kusela Diko is probably, did I see her? I think I saw her as one of the members of parliament representing the organization. So there are a few strong members of parliament that I think are going to help us and ask some really, really, really probing questions to those that will be testifying at this ad hoc committee. So that's currently underway as we speak. How hopeful are you about the ANC's 10-point economic action plan? It was adopted by the party's NEC. I would imagine that the ANC now will have to lend it in government to get the buy-in of the GNU, because the president said the action plan would be implemented through government structures with results expected by 2027. So is the ANC even interested in getting the buy-in of other GNU partners, or are they just going to implement this in the various government structures, as the president said? Because there was a time when what was adopted by the NEC goes straight to government to be implemented, but things have changed now. So I wonder how they will be navigating that. But anyway, this action plan is aimed at arresting the deindustrialization of the country's metals sectors, particularly chrome and manganese. It will see state support across energy, trade, procurement, infrastructure, financing, beneficiaries, you name it, beneficiation, you name it. They want to focus on key drivers of economic activity. So the focus really is on strengthening the electricity grid. You want to accelerate infrastructure development, but more importantly, you want to build state capacity. The president said that an economic war room will be established in the presidency to coordinate across government performance and provide regular scorecards on progress. The question I have, though, is how different is this plan from the previous economic action plans that the president has announced? In fact, how different is this from Operation Vulindlela, which is concentrated in the private office of the president? Remember, in his State of the Nation address this year, the president announced that the second phase of Operation Vulindlela will focus on reforming the local government system and improving service delivery. But it was first announced, this Operation Vulindlela, I think it was 2021? No, 2020, I think. And the president said this was as a means to fast-track the delivery of economic reforms and support economic recovery. So it was created by the presidency and National Treasury to boost economic growth, to create jobs through those targeted reforms. I mean, if you look at the intentions of Operation Vulindlela, you will see how they are not dissimilar to the intentions of this 10-point action plan. It's not different, and it includes work of Operation Vulindlela. In fact, I think it's more an all-encompassing document, but nothing new. What it does is bring together all the elements, such as OV, industrial policy, employment, education, crime and building state capacity, all in this one document. But Operation Vulindlela was also intended to modernize and transform network industries, including electricity, water, transport, and digital communications. It was also supposed to address the obstacles or delays in government and legislation to ensure the execution on policy commitments. So you deal with that red tape. So let me know how hopeful you are that this is the kind of document that is likely to see some interesting changes in dynamics over the next year, because we are told that the results are expected in 2027. To be fair, Operation Vulindlela has really been doing well. I've often spoken to Rudy Dix, who is the lead or project management lead, whatever the term is, in the private office of the president. So this is someone who is in Operation Vulindlela. They've done a lot of work. Before we even started seeing these improvements at ESCOM, that work was ongoing behind the scenes. So that's the kind of impact we've seen from Operation Vulindlela, where they're pushing for these reforms and they're trying to make it as easy as it is to do business and for these reforms to be implemented. You look at what's happening at Transnet, bringing in the private sector, trying to fasten the processes. Operation Vulindlela has been quite instrumental in that. We've often brought in Rudy Dix to come give us an update over the years. How hopeful are you in this 10-point action plan? Do you think it's just politically convenient because the ANC wants to be able to say, well, we do have a plan, we announced it? And how do they even manage it when they go to the government of national unity? Because the ANC is no longer the party in charge. It's in charge together with other organizations. So are they just taking this to government and implement it? Or are they interested in getting the buy-in of other partners of the GNU? Give me a call on 011-883-0702. You can send me a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702. Between 10 and 11 o'clock, we're going to do the Healing Hour feature. This is our monthly feature where we dedicate an hour to have a conversation amongst ourselves as friends, as the 702 family. And today, we're going to be reflecting on life lessons. What has life taught you that you wish you knew when you were young? That's a question I'm going to be asking you, and I'm really interested in your calls when we start the Healing Hour at 10 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, we're going to do our World of Work feature. Today, we're going to be talking about the impact of unemployment on mental health. In August, Stats SA released fresh findings from its quarterly labor force survey. Unemployment rose by 140,000 people, bringing the total jobless count to about 8.4 million and pushing the official unemployment rate up from 32.9% to 33.2%. But these numbers are much more than statistics, right? Behind them lies a silent mental health crisis. You've got widespread anxiety. There are people dealing with depression, shame, and hopelessness that's creeping into homes across the country. So that's what we're going to be looking at 11 o'clock, and how you manage that as someone perhaps who's unemployed, or you know someone who's unemployed. How do you even support them? At 11:30, we do our health and wellness feature. Today, we're going to be discussing dyslexia on our health and wellness feature. October is actually Dyslexia Awareness Month. So we're going to be dedicating time to understanding what is really one of the most common but often misunderstood learning differences. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning to you. This is Lindy Way. Action plan should have been instituted in at least 1995. That was when action plan should have been instituted. And from there, we talk about progression. Number two, why now the ad hoc committee? Well, is the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry not enough? Because all we are awaiting are recommendations and consequence management. Thank you.
Yeah, remember we once had a conversation about what should take precedence between the Parliamentary inquiry and the Madlanga Commission. And that's not to say both are unnecessary or both can coexist, parallel to each other. But we were talking in terms of consequence management, and I made a case to you that I think the parliamentary inquiry, probably for me, takes precedence because you stand better chances of ensuring accountability through that structure in Parliament than with the Madlanga Commission, because all they're going to do is say to the President, here are the recommendations. Even though I must say, I'm excited by the fact that the report is not only going to be sent to the President, it will be sent to the Chief Justice. That report will be sent to Parliament as well. So that, for me, increases the chances of accountability. But with Parliament, they are constitutionally obligated to hold the executive accountable. So the decisions that Parliament takes have to be rational. So if Parliament, for instance, there's a report that comes out and questions the Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, but the ANC somehow protects him, or the GNU, then there can be a case in court that challenges the decision of Parliament not to act against, for instance, Senzo Mchunu. I'm just using him as an example. So that system of government, like, really, really helps us. That system of accountability helps us because then you know that these people have to do this. They are obligated constitutionally to do this, and the courts can come in and ensure that Parliament acts as it is supposed to act. Remember with the Nkandla judgment, they said, the justices said, Parliament failed in its constitutional obligation to hold the executive accountable. So there's precedent that's already been set there. Whereas with Madlanga, even if the President decides, I'm not interested to implement these recommendations, he's not violating any law. So you can't even take him to court, can you? Well, good luck if that's the plan, because what stronger case really are you going to have? But with Parliament, I think you stand a much, much better chance. Mpo, you are calling us from Pretoria. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure, brother. Go ahead.
Good Clement, politicians, they literally just take people's lives for a ride, and they do it for sport. I mean, the President and the ANC are now coming with like a 10-point plan of turning things around, and it's based on what? It's based on what performance? The President said the reason why we have a GNU now was to prevent the collapse of the economy. Clement, we've lost 226,000 jobs between last year, June, and this year, July. Over and above that, I was just reading yesterday, and I was shocked that SARS is celebrating collecting 52 billion from two pot systems. The money of which is going to school fees, is going to paying down debt, is going to helping relatives that are unemployed. This country is in big trouble, Clement, and I think that's the point that I want to put across. The President is not calling a meeting and saying, in the last year, this is what we have tried to do. It is not working. We are trying to stimulate the economy. This is not working. Therefore, we think that the remedy or the new strategy to adopt is this 10-point system. You're talking about a unit in the President's office, and now there's another unit. There's another war room unit that's coming. So, how many of these things are we going to have? And what does it say? How do you explain this to a layman, to a layperson who does not understand the language of economics and the language of politics, but who's battling on the ground to even just feed his family?
Yeah, but Mpo, to be fair though on the President, I don't think he's ever announced like an economic plan even in the GNU. I mean, through the State of the Nation address, he's sort of given a sense of how they plan on ensuring there's investment, how jobs are going to be created. But this is a more comprehensive plan coming from the ANC, realizing the kind of crisis that we're in with our economy. And I think they're just trying to come up with some solutions. But I agree also with you, Mpo, that we can't also be dishing out plans left, right, center and not holding ourselves accountable to the other plans that we have put forward. So Operation Vulindlela, are you going to, because most of what's in this plan, Mpo, I went through, it's Operation Vulindlela intentions. And I even checked with people who are in Operation Vulindlela and they told me the same thing. This is the same thing. It's just that it's an all-encompassing document. So to your point, how do we then hold you accountable for the previous document, economic plan that you announced? Because now you're announcing this fresh one coming across as, oh, look at us, we're responding to the crisis. But most of what you're telling us has already been in the previous plans.
My man, this is bad.
Maybe we're running out of ideas, Paul. Maybe that's what's happening here.
Yeah. No, I agree, Clement. Thank you so much, man. Thank you
for your call, brother. Yeah, because I suppose, look, I get what Mpo is saying. But also I'm like, then what does the president do? Just sit back and just look at the economy that's been declining at a worrying rate? I mean, yes, you've got positive signs here and there in the last quarter, but we're still not growing at the level that's going to ensure that jobs are being created in this country. You need to grow at least 3 to 5%. We look like we're still far from that. So the ANC probably feels we've got to be seen to be doing something. But what about the other action plans? In fact, Abel, didn't the president speak in how many years ago? 2020? 2018. The president spoke when he was announcing an action plan. And part of the problem is you make these announcements, but there's never a reflection later on, remember we gave you that plan in 2017, 2018? Here's what we've been able to do. And this new plan that we announced is basically phase 2, or is going to augment what we were unable to do then. Listen to what he said, the president, back in 2017, 2018.
It is in response to these factors and these conditions, many of which are outside our control and we have very little that we can do about them, that we are announcing today, following its adoption by Cabinet, an economic stimulus and recovery plan. The stimulus and recovery plan we are outlining consists of a range of measures, and some of them are financial, some of them are non-financial, that will be implemented immediately to firstly ignite economic activity in our country, and secondly, to restore investor confidence, thirdly, to prevent further job losses, and of course to create new jobs, and fourthly, to address some urgent challenges that affect the conditions that are faced by a number of vulnerable groups in our country. The fifth measure has to do with the municipal area, where we are embarking on a number of interventions as well. So 5 measures that we will be embarking on.
So that was a 5-point plan then, I guess. And now we're dealing with a 10-point plan. During COVID, he also announced another economic recovery plan. And I get it with that one, because our economy was disrupted. You needed something to really respond to that pandemic. But again, do we ever go back to the plans and say, hey, remember we announced this in 2018? Here's how far we went with that. Now we've got a new plan. We told results are going to come in 2027. 2028, God forbid, we're going to be given another, what is it going to be called? A 15-point plan? A 12-point plan? I don't know. I feel like we're running out of ideas. I think we're running out of ideas. Smega, you're in Kagiso. Good morning.
Yeah. Whew. The guy. We see the vulnerable group that he's talking about, as he's referring to. I'm the vulnerable group that he's referring to. And as we speak, I'm crafting a letter to bring it to complain. And I'll tell you why. I think the whole thing is actually taken to economic transformation that they've been preaching all the time from back in 1994. But nothing is moving. And you do that here. This is just a myth. There's no economic transformation. I'll give you a practical example. And I've spoken about this when we visited your show previously. They're building a mall in Gaza, right? And we said to them, the transformation that you are talking about in your plans, in your interventions, can we see it being realized in what you are doing on the ground, right? You would have a councillor coming publicly saying, these are not possible, guys. There's no way that the investor can bring investment in your township and wants to involve you because we have never even owned a stall selling vegetables. And I said, you've got your CEDA, your CFA, they call it CFA now. that is supposed to capacitate people so that when these opportunities come, they're able to participate. The councillor will sit across the table opposing you see these plans, the 10-point plan, the 5-point plans. You will have a councillor sitting across the table telling you that this is not possible, it's not going to happen. They would even come to our meetings, the meetings that would call as a committee to say, we would want to have a equity in the mall. The councillor will come and disrupt your meeting saying, you can't do that. And if ANC says then say, this is what you want to do, but on the ground, the people who are supposed to be implementing don't even have an idea that we have got Gauteng Enterprise Propeller, we've got National Empowerment Fund that is supposed to even assist in making sure that these plans that are being preached on top are implemented on the ground. So I am of the view that this is just the myth. Economic transformation that we are promised.
Smeg, I hope that's not the case. Also, they had that Councillor Zimbizo, whatever they called it, and maybe that's where they should have announced this plan too, so that the councillors also understand what's expected of them. Langa, you are in Johannesburg. Good morning.
Morning, Clement.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Look, two things. Look, I'm not so optimistic with your parliamentary thing. Remember, those people you're mentioning, they are all implicated in scandals. I mean, DICO, that PPE thing that we don't know what happened to it.
It was her husband.
But she had to resign. She was in the president's office.
But she wasn't found guilty of anything, right?
I understand. But look, number after the president promised that, look, there will be no corruption around the PPE, that solidarity fund. Number two, Julius Malema, there are all these murmurings about his involvement with the tobacco cartels, illegal tobacco cartels, So I'm not so. And then there was, Kola Barnard also? These are all MPs that Konazi is directly fingering. Now, we have got this issue where in South Africa, we expect members of parliament that are making our laws, to really in some way strengthen or interrogate themselves and really put themselves on the trial. Number two, with regards to the president, I think the president detached from his cabinet. When he's busy doing all these plans and within in his office, the presidency, where are the ministers? What is happening in social development? What is happening in health? What is happening in education? He's a man of plans, but little action. There may be some improvement maybe at the port, but, to the ordinary man on the street, Clement, I still have to worry about my safety. I still have to worry when I go to a public hospital. I worry about my kids who are in a government hospital, government schools. The kids can't write. They can't. So the chief executive officer, country and government, is checked out.
Checked out. All right. Yeah, Langa. Let's see what the other listeners think. Thank you so much for your contribution. It's 9:32. Swisa, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry into allegations of corruption in the criminal justice system has started. The committee's first witness is KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Konazi, who will give testimony about allegations he made in July. His appearance in Parliament today comes 2 weeks after he testified at the Madlanga Commission. Meanwhile, two other parliamentary inquiries are set to start today, and one of those is looking into finances and governance at the Road Accident Fund. The Standing Committee on Public Accounts will probe the finances and governance at the entity, which has led to the backlogs and suspected fraud in the claims process. Scopa says the inquiry has been necessitated by the entity not providing it with credible information about a year of scrutiny. And peace talks in Egypt between Israel and Hamas to end the Gaza war have been described as positive so far. AFP is reporting that people close to the meeting say that discussions went well last night, with the first round lasting for about 4 hours. The day one talks covered the proposed exchange of prisoners and captives, a ceasefire, and a humanitarian aid entering Gaza. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN. Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by cars.co.za. Let's find what moves you. Amo, how are we looking on the road?
Well, Clement, we've got an accident in the city of Tshwane along the N4 West. It's right near the Proof Plus interchange. It's causing heavy traffic volumes. This is just as you come out of Simon van Meuten Road. Please be on the lookout there. About a 20-minute hold-up causing these delays. There's also queuing traffic along the R80 East Mabopane Highway approaching Eskyamkatlele exit, while traffic lights out of order in Groencliffe at Christian de Wet Road and Euphus Road. Traveling on the N3 North, we still have got bumper-to-bumper delays between Vincent Chabalala Road and the Baklu interchange. That's due to roadworks. There's also queuing traffic due to more roadworks on the N3 North between Van Buren and the Kidulis turn off, as well as along the R24 West between the Kidulis and Edenville Road. Please approach with care. Traveling in Rand Park Ridge, we've got faulty traffic lights at Bearsdodia Drive and the N1. They're also out of order in Linksfield at the N3 and Linksfield Road. More updates coming up at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Do you want to buy a Honda? Cars.co.za. Toyota or Mahindra? Cars.co.za. Do you want to sell a Cherry? Cars.co.za. Suzuki or Mercedes? Cars.co.za. Polo, Kia, Mitsubishi, Havel, Hyundai, Lamborghini. Buy and sell, it's very easy. All you got to do is type Cars.co.za. 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 Let's find what moves you. Cars.co.za. Cars.co.za.
702 afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
Are you able to share any statistics to really paint a picture for us as to how dire the situation is? Because obviously, if you're living in Sandton or in a suburb, you might be quite out of touch of the realities of many children.
Our data is reliable as we'd like it to be. The estimates of the number of children who don't have access to ECD programs aged between 0 to 5 in South Africa is around 3 to 4 million. Then the gap for 3 and 4-year-olds in particular is over 1 million children.
Rebecca Hickman, Chief Ecosystem and Policy Officer at Smart Start.
702 afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring Investec SA. Their CEO, Kumesh Mudlia, will be in conversation with Bongani Binga. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
It's spring, SA, and here at DecoFern, we say it's time to say yes. Say yes to new friends. Yes to new adventures. Will you marry me?
Yes!
And definitely say yes to a few new things.
Welcome to DecoFern.
Say yes to awesome savings at the DecoFern Furniture Spring Sale, with up to 35% off on outdoor furniture and much more. In-store now or at decofernsa.co.za.
Feel the exhilarating power and performance. Feel the anticipation of a new adventure around every corner. Feel the breathtaking wonder of Mzansi's epic scenery. Feel the luxe vibes and the good times. Feel it all and more with the Ultimate Shelf V-Power VIP experience. Spend 750 rands 3 times this month and tap your V Plus rewards card for a chance to win one of 5 epic road trip and trek experiences for 2. T's and C's apply.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Well, a big promise from President Cyril Ramaphosa, in which he said the ANC's National Executive Committee had decided over the weekend to adopt a new plan to grow the economy.
The fact that the president says we have to establish, or ANC resolved that there should be a war room in the presidency, it means that the departments individually and as they are dysfunctional. They are not coordinating. That's a real problem.
Dr. Iraj Abedian, CEO at Pan-African Investments and Research Services.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show, Stephen Curtis, is brought to you by ABSA. ABSA is a proud lead sponsor of B20 South Africa 2025. ABSA is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
22 minutes before 10 o'clock. Just a quick update from Parliament. This ad hoc committee that's supposed to hear from the KZN police commissioner hasn't even started to hear his testimony. They're having a debate, or do you call it an argument or debate, about the statement that General Konazi has provided to the Parliamentary Committee. So there are some political parties that are unhappy with the statement because it's the same statement that he provided to the Madlanga Commission. Some are saying, well, it's a supplementary statement, so it's not really repetition. And now that's what they're still having a conversation about. In fact, before I go back to your calls, Hebron and Kenneth, I see you. I'll come to you in a moment. I see the chairperson of that committee, Soviet Lekhwanyan, is speaking. Let's hear if perhaps he is announcing what the committee's position is before they begin with the testimony.
There's no better person to answer that, Honourable Chair, than General Konazi himself. He can. Hence, I asked you to administer the oath. I will ask him whether this is an original statement that is made to this body.
Yes, let me take the hands. Before I take you, Oscar Sana, let me go back to Honorable Malema, because he's the one who raised this point. He may want to make follow-ups, and then the list will be in this order. It will be Honorable Malema, it will be Honorable Skosana, Honorable Nombalo, Honorable Ngola, and then Honorable Mwango.
No, thanks, Chair. I think the evidence leader, and this is so unfair on General Konazi. If we had a way, we should have just asked him to step out so that we can debate this. The senior counsel can't say that. Can't say the first statement to us is supplementary statement. That coming from a senior counsel. That the first statement you make is called supplementary statement. What law are you teaching people? It's unacceptable, and we can't help them, Chair, to cure it here in front of cameras. He has to go back and do the right thing. Because even if General Konazi says, this is my statement to Parliament, but what is written on this thing is supplementary statement. You can't change it. It's here before us. You are going to call General Konazi before this committee without an original statement. Where have you ever had a situation where you are told the first statement to be disposed is supplementary statement? If we're to ask the senior counsel, where's the original statement? He won't produce it. So if this is the original statement, let it be, let them go and correct it. So it serves here properly. And then we all proceed. And what makes it painful is that it doesn't matter whether colleagues want to do whatever they want to do. We debated this matter many times in this committee and emphasized that General Konazi will have to dispose a statement to the committee, even if it means cut and paste, as long as there is an original statement to the committee. So that answer doesn't even, General Konazi doesn't get involved anywhere. He was called, he was asked questions, he was being helped by evidence leaders on how these things can be done. So to invite him now and say, is this an original statement or not, it's incorrect. He gave them what they asked him to give them. If they were not satisfied, they were supposed to come back to us. Now, the legal team does exactly what we want when we appointed the legal team. That there's no legal team which is going to take decisions on behalf of this committee. Now he goes and takes a decision that a supplementary statement will be an original statement and brings it here and embarrass us in front of cameras like we are a group of people who don't know anything. He says General Konazi took an oath at Madlanga Commission. Therefore, because he took an oath at Madlanga Commission, because we do what Madlanga has done, why should he take an oath here? If that's how it works. He disposed the statement at Madlanga. His statement at Madlanga is the statement before us. We must accept that. We must also accept Madlanga's oath. He's going to take an oath twice on the same statement. on the same statement. There's no law that says that. I might not be a lawyer, but I'm a lawmaker.
Honorable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure, Chair, whether when we sat on our meetings, in fact, before even this ad hoc committee was set, because we sit in these portfolio committees, and it's really embarrassing, I must say, that after we agreed that we are not a subcommittee of the Madlanga Commission, and now we are told that there's a supplementary thank you, Chair. Not because you are talking to someone there. That we have to have a cut and paste is not acceptable as well. I mean, we were told that there was a consultation with the Provincial Commissioner General Konazi. We are going to be having a different view, here at the other committee. Not what we are told today by the senior counsel. And I think that I will support my colleague on that. Perhaps it will be proper that General Konazi is excused. Us as committee members discuss this matter, because really we are
okay. I don't see this starting today. I don't. Isn't Julius Malema making a fair point, though? Huh? Isn't it fair to actually recognize that these are two separate processes? Why would you want to take a statement that was deposed at the Madlanga Commission and supplemented, quote unquote, when this is a completely independent, separate process? And Julius Malema makes a fair point that then we might as well don't let him take the oath, because he already took oath at the Madlanga Commission. Since you're happy to accept the statement that was deposed at the Madlanga Commission, albeit, supplemented here and there. These are two separate processes. And this was actually debated during the time when the terms of reference were being decided. And the fact that here we are on the day that General Konazi is supposed to give testimony, and that's still a subject of debate, is weird. What do you think, having heard what Julius Malema said? Do you think they must just accept? Because at the end of the day, yes, General Konazi is going to give them the same thing he gave the Madlanga Commission. The statement is going to be the same. But the argument Julius Malema makes is it's fine, but as long as the committee itself gets its own separate, original document. If General Konazi wants to take whatever was on the Madlanga Commission statement and paste it on what will now be the parliamentary process, and he's happy with that, sign it, let that be the original statement for this separate, independent process in Parliament. What do you think? 011-883-0702. Send your WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. It's 13 minutes before 10.
702. Serving the 702 family in 702 land, including those of you in Vereeniging. Vereeniging is situated on the banks of the Vaal River and is one of our most important industrial manufacturing centers in the country. Chief products include iron, steel, bricks, tiles, and lime. Several coal mines in the area supply coal to nearby Eskom power stations. An historic treaty was signed in Vereeniging in 1902, ending the South African War between the Boer republics and the then British Empire. 702. Let's walk the talk across 702 land, including Vereeniging.
Mzansi, have you bought your Powerball ticket for the mind-blowing 120 million rand estimated jackpot this Tuesday? Don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 120 million rand jackpot today for your chance at winning the big millions. Buy your tickets now in-store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Your office is more than just a place to work. It's a reflection of your success. At Desk and Chair, we help you elevate your workspace with locally manufactured desks and a wide range of chairs to suit your style and budget. Our expert consultants are with you every step of the way, from planning to delivery and assembly. Visit our showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk and Chair. Think, feel, work better.
Introducing the new Grande Cheeseburger from Nando's. Freshly toasted signature bun, juicy flame-grilled chicken breast fillet basted in your choice of peri-peri. Nando's mayo, crisp lettuce, tomato, red onion, the red one, not the normal one, gherkins, creamy cheddar cheese, and finished with that legendary peri-naise. A burger so big it literally took us almost 30 seconds to describe it, which is why you'll need both hands for it.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
10 minutes before 10 o'clock, let's go to your calls and WhatsApps. You can call on 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApps are coming through on 072-702-1702.
Good day, Clement. Good day, 702. Lenders, Abraham in Florida. Clement, there is no way that they can accept the Mahlanga Commission statements and oath into Parliament. Parliament is the highest decision-making body in the country. And I don't understand how they started with the Mahlanga Commission and ended up with the Parliament Committee. For me, it says that they wanted to frustrate them and make sure that this thing takes longer than we expected. It is actually going to take longer than the Zondo Commission to get to the bottom of this thing, because these committee and the commission are running concurrently, and it's going to frustrate the officials. It's going to frustrate everybody who's taking part. You watch this space when Clement. It's going to be postponed for days on end without an end in sight, and by the end of this whole commission, we will be mesmerized and lost as to what happened, just like we are doing with the Zondo Commission.
Yeah, I think, it's just weird, man. It's just weird. This is a separate process and it must be respected as such. I'll take more of your thoughts on that. Let's go to Kenneth, who's calling us from Kramerville, wants to comment on that 10-point action plan, economic action plan. Kenneth, thank you for your patience and holding. Good morning.
Thanks, Clement. So my worry, Clement, around this is that it's a political survival strategy. It's got nothing to do with the people. I mean, the ANC knows exactly what is wrong with South Africa and its not growing economy and unemployment and all of that. They know that they've got people who are not equal to the task. When you look at local government level, provincial, and even national. Clement, I'll give you an example. We know that agriculture can be an economic spin-off if we have a strategy to grow it. If you travel to places like Mpumalanga, you've got people who are farming in their own yards. They don't have any kind of support from government to be able to grow their agricultural products or produce. And these are people who are surviving against all odds. They don't have water. They don't have anyone who's supporting them with seeds. But if you look at things that they're producing, for example, I was in a place called Numbi in Hazyview two weeks ago. I met a lady who is farming garlic in her own backyard. I was so impressed. You know, she's farming garlic that you could sell at Woolies, you could sell at ShopRite. But these people don't have any kind of government support. So I think the ANC knows what's wrong with this country. They've got cadres that they've deployed in municipalities completely useless. Our municipalities are dilapidated. Our towns are dilapidated. You just have to look at the city of Johannesburg. So I think we have to get serious. The ANC knows what's wrong with this country. They have to do what is right. But, I'm afraid their time is up.
Yeah. So, but I love how you coined it, Kenneth, a political survival strategy is what Kenneth is calling it. Thank you for your contribution, Kenneth. Let's go back to your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702.
Morning, Clement. Some of us, we don't really care what ANC really does. We don't care what type of plan, 5-point plan, 10-point plan 7-point plan, whatever they do. Some of us, we just have that fatigue when it comes to ANC. We've given them enough chances and they keep on blowing all their chances. So it doesn't matter whatever. I mean, some of us are not even interested in their campaign, what they will be saying. We just are tired of ANC and we're never going to give them a chance again. We'll give chance to other political parties. So there's just that fatigue. You know, when someone keeps promising and they keep on breaking their promises, you reach a point where you're just tired. Some of us as young people are at that stage. Thank you.
Madimeja, this is JT in the Val. I think the ANC has run out of ideas totally on what they should do. So they are throwing everything now that they can. Because, I mean, even this Operation Vulindlela thing, they've not been able to give account on what they've achieved. So I think they're just running out of ideas totally.
Yeah, but hey, as that listener said, political survival strategy. Is that perhaps what's at play here? It's going up to 5 minutes now before 10 o'clock.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
Good morning, Clem. I mean, really, now, is this a joke or what? So they want to supplement sort of an affidavit or something like that. I don't honestly get it. I think Julius is right. I mean, if that is the case, let him do a new one, and it becomes an original statement for their parliamentary process, not cut and paste type of situation. I mean, really, we're not taking ourselves seriously. Yeah, it is what it is. Kiki.
Hi, morning, Clement. Barry from Gaza. I'm Clement Manyathela. Why must we debate now which statement is original or not? His statement is a statement. Why must he change it? Because now it's a parliamentary session. The evidence that he collected and they picked up should still remain the same. Why must it change now? Why, if he chooses to use the same statement he used at the Madlanga Commission, why should that be an issue? Why should we even talk about it, discuss that matter? No, man. He must deliver a statement the way he wants to deliver a statement, and parliamentarians ask questions if they want to ask questions so that he can clarify some of the issues. And not a debate as to the statement is the same as the one that was in the Madlanga Commission. I mean, come on.
Good morning, Clement. General Konazi went to Parliament. He spoke to the chief portfolio committee there at the Parliament to say, this is what I have. Why didn't the ad hoc committee be established there and then? From when he invited him to Parliament, and have this meeting and or whatever is alleged before them, let them interrogate it. Then, now they let it go, and he went to the president. He went even to the public on the 6th of July. Now look at where we are. Let them suffer the consequences.
Yeah, I mean, guys, this is a very simple thing. It really is. You cannot mix and mesh different processes here. The Madlanga Commission was constituted by the president. It's a presidential commission. Before you write a statement, you know what happens? You sit down with the evidence leaders. They guide you through placing the allegations, in this case, the claims you make on the statement, because they're going to be leading your evidence. You need to meet with the evidence leaders from the parliamentary inquiry as well, who must also, because they're going to be leading sort of quote unquote your evidence, except here you're going to get a lot of questions from the parliamentarians during that process. So what is wrong with that? And again, even if he decides that, let me just take whatever I've written to the Madlanga Commission and put it on a separate document and sign it under oath, and that becomes my statement to the Parliamentary Committee, that's also fine if it's a choice that is being made. But then you have to respect the two processes. That's why Julius Malema says, okay, must he then now must he not take oath now because he's already taken oath at the Madlanga Commission? This is not an extension of the Madlanga Commission. And yes, we can criticize Parliament, and I've asked even the committee members in Parliament, why didn't you guys start an ad hoc committee then when this man appeared before you in March, earlier this year? Why didn't you act then? That's a separate conversation. But right now, this man is appearing before a constitutional body, a parliamentary constitutional body, and that deserves to be treated as a separate process to that of the Madlanga Commission. 1 minute before 10.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
There are many people whose hearts are broken because no matter how much they struggle, protections that guarantee them dignity and equality in this society, there are those who would make it their life's work, their life's mission to denigrate, to disregard, to humiliate, to exclude, all in the name of cultures. Why can't we just see each other as equals?
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
At the heart of global conversations shaping the future, Africa's voice matters more than ever. As Africa's largest bank by assets and lead sponsor of the B20 Summit, Standard Bank Group is proud to spotlight the continent's growth, partnerships, and potential on the world stage. Through informed dialogue and powerful partnerships, Standard Bank is driving sustainable growth where it matters most. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Stamina Grow is a 5-in-1 supplement with amino acids, antioxidants, B vitamins, and other essential vitamins and minerals. Stamina Grow helps promote energy, well-being, immune defense, and mental vitality. Stamina Grow, 22 years of supporting Mzansi. Ranked amongst the top 5 best-performing multivitamin brands in SA. Stamina Grow. Grow for it.
Running a business is tough. You need tools that just work. That's why more South African businesses are switching to Mac. At iStore, we make it easy with 4,000 rands in added value when you switch. That's 3 years extended warranty and remote tech support, leaving you to focus on everything else. Switch to Mac with iStore, your expert partner. T's and C's apply. Mac at iStore. Run smooth as business should.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Proceedings at Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry into allegations of corruption in the criminal justice system have hit a bit of a snag this morning. The committee's first witness is KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner Konazi, who is expected to give testimony about the allegations he made in July. His appearance today comes 2 weeks after he testified at the Madlanga Commission. But EFF leader Julius Malema has raised a question about Mkwanazi's supplementary statement submitted to the ad hoc committee.
There is no statement of General Mkwanazi before us. There is a statement of General Mkwanazi to the Commission. And therefore, in the absence of his statement to the ad hoc committee of Parliament, on which basis do you want him to take an oath? You will know, Chair, that a supplementary statement should be supplementing the original affidavit if you wish to say so. There is no such. And therefore, General Mkwanazi is not proper before us.
Proceedings are continuing with the evidence leader, Norman Arendse, explaining the presence of the supplementary statements. Meanwhile, 2 parliamentary inquiries are set to start today, one of which will investigate finances and governance at the Road Accident Fund. The Standing Committee on Public Accounts will probe the finances and governance at the entity, which has led to the backlogs and suspected fraud in the claims process. Scopa says the inquiry has been necessitated by the entity not providing it with credible information after a year of scrutiny. The tenure of former RAF CEO Collins Letswalo ended in August while he was on suspension for snubbing the committee. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
The RAF inquiry is not set to hear evidence from witnesses for at least another week. The committee will start its inquiry over 3 days this week with orientation presentations from the fund, the Department of Transport under which it falls, and the offices of the Chief Procurement Officer, Accountant General, the Auditor General and the Special Investigating Unit. The inquiry will then focus its attention on the backlog of unpaid and rejected claims, as well as inefficiencies in the process. Allegations of corruption involving law firms and judges are also on the agenda, as well as the protracted suspension of employees without resolution. Next week, the committee will investigate procurement matters, including the awarding of legal, media and marketing contracts worth R1 billion. Scopa chairperson Zongezo Zibi said previously the committee planned to call both former and present board members and executives of the fund to get a full picture of where the problem started. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Joburg City Power and the Hawks are set to face off in the High Court today over recent search and seizure operations at the utilities headquarters. City Power wants the court to declare the operations unlawful, claiming the search warrants used were invalid. Over the past 2 months, the Hawks have raided City Power's offices twice as part of an ongoing investigation into several questionable contracts totaling more than R500 million. Alfara Mushwana reports.
The latest Hawks search and seizure at City Power's offices was triggered by a questionable R64 million contract for the supply of electricity transformers. However, the transformers were never delivered by the agreed deadline of December 2023, despite payments having been made. Last week, the Hawks visited the utilities headquarters to obtain a purchase order related to the contract in question. In its court application, City Power is seeking the return of all documents, data and devices seized during the Hawks' recent operation. The utility argues that the warrant authorized mirror imaging of all its digital systems and communications, despite the investigation being limited to just 1 or 2 transactions. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And peace talks in Egypt between Israel and Hamas to end the Gaza war have been described as positive so far. AFP is reporting that people close to the meeting say the discussions went well last night, with the first round lasting for about 4 hours. The day one talks covered the proposed exchange of prisoners and captives, a ceasefire and humanitarian aid entering Gaza. The meeting is expected to resume later today, which marks 2 years since the Hamas attack on Israel that killed more than 1,000 people and saw about 200 others taken captive. Since then, Israeli forces have killed more than 67,000 Palestinians in a war that has been described as a genocide by the United Nations Inquiry, leading genocide scholars and leading human rights groups, including those in Israeli non-profit companies. US President Donald Trump, who presented the peace plan, says talks are going well as negotiations will continue in Egypt.
I think we're doing very well, and I think Hamas has been agreeing to things that are very important. And I think Hamas now has been, all I can say is they've been fine. They've been fine. I hope it's going to continue that way. I think it will. I really think we're going to have a deal. We have a really good chance of making a deal.
Gold is trading at $3,957.27 an ounce. The rand is at 17.19 to the dollar, 23.13 to the pound, 20.09 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.74 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the M1 South just as you approach Houghton Drive. Coming out of Glen Hove Road, please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic along the N3 South between the Kilulis interchange and Van Buren Road due to roadworks, and more roadworks are taking place on the N3 North between Vincent Chabalala Road and the Baklu interchange.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 28 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: proceedings of Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry into allegations of corruption in the criminal justice system have hit a bit of a snag this morning surrounding the supplementary statement of KZN top cop Nhlanhla Konazi.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Eight minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702, and thank you for your contributions on the 702 open line. And the parliamentary inquiry is just being adjourned now. The ad hoc committee that was supposed to hear from the KZN Police Commissioner, General Konazi, that's now been adjourned. I imagine they're trying to figure out what the position of Parliament is going to be. Do they continue with the first witness today, General Konazi, or do they try and sort their house in order first and then maybe ask him to come back tomorrow? Because if really the committee decides that, okay, we need a new statement from General Konazi, that's not just going to take an hour to reproduce. I would imagine that's going to take some time, especially if the evidence leaders have to sit down with him, which is what I thought the process would be. Unless, of course, they're going to just do a copy and paste. Then maybe he could start with his testimony later today. But let's wait and see. They've just adjourned now. We'll probably know in the next hour or so what the decision of this ad hoc committee is. Remember, at 11 o'clock, we're going to do our World of Work feature. Today we'll be looking at the impact of unemployment on mental health. I think it's important to understand how unemployment and mental health collide, why they magnify each other, and what hope is there, right? Especially for those people that have struggled with this for some time, communities that are under pressure. And if you're unemployed or you were unemployed and you want to share some tips with how you've managed to handle that so that it doesn't impact you to a point where it was a negative impact on your mental health. What did you do? So please share your tips with us at 11 o'clock when we start this conversation. And then we're going to wrap up the show with our health and wellness feature where we'll be discussing dyslexia. That's what's coming up at 11:30.
702
Healing Hour.
But right now, we start with our Healing Hour feature. This is our monthly feature, and whenever we do Healing Hour, we basically dedicate an hour to have a conversation amongst ourselves as friends, as the 702 family. This is a safe space to share our pain, to share our stories of survival, to share our experiences as friends, as a family, as a community, with no judgment. And what I want us today to do is to reflect on life lessons. And I'm asking you this morning on our Healing Hour feature, what has life taught you that you wish you knew when you were young? Whether young to you means 18 or it means 25 or it means 30, but what is it that life has taught you that you wish you knew when you were young? I want you to give us a call right now on 011-883-0702 to share that with us. Or you can send a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702. We've all lived different lives. We've all experienced different things, right? So what is it really that life has taught you that you wish you knew earlier on in your life? So once again, that number to dial, 011-883-0702. you can send a WhatsApp on 072 702 1702. There are some people who actually, as they have experienced things in life, there are things that they wish they knew when they were young, or they wish they knew earlier on in life. But the difference is they still don't practice what they have learned, even in that older age, so to speak. So you know that, oh, I actually wish I knew this lesson when I was much younger or earlier on in my life. But for some reason, that still hasn't changed the dynamics of your life, even when you're older. Are there certain things that you're still struggling with that you know now, but you're still struggling to live by now, even though you know, had I known this when I was much younger or earlier on in my life, that would have made a huge difference in my life? Let's talk. 011 883 0702. Your WhatsApps are coming on 072 702 1702.
702.
Healing Hour.
One lesson that I have learned from experience is that there are up escalators and down escalators in life. When you feel on top of the world, don't act as if you will remain there. And when you are at your lowest point, recognize that this too will pass. Life has passing phases. The wheel turns.
So, if you're probably wondering there, who's that? That's the voice of Helen Zille, the possibly future mayor of Johannesburg, if you got to vote for her, but currently the DA Federal Executive Chair. So, passing phases. I have to say, even at this relatively young age I'm at 35, I do realize that that is actually something that I've come to learn. That life has passing phases. And I'm learning to embrace the good and the bad phases. And when I say I'm learning, I realize that there's a lot I need to unlearn. Because when we were being raised, we were always taught never to embrace the negative, bad moments. And by embrace, I'm not saying celebrate them. I mean, of course, you're not going to be happy that you have just failed something. Yeah? So what I mean is, we were raised, even when we used to go to church. When you go to church, you are constantly told of, which is great, right? Because they teach about the goodness of the Lord, the goodness of God, which is true. But sometimes we get so drunk with that we don't, whenever there's disappointment that comes in our lives, it really destroys us completely. Because then you think, oh, am I being punished? Oh, am I being bewitched? Oh, this must mean that I've done something wrong. No, this is life. Life has seasons. And yes, in that moment of difficulty, you can call on to your maker or to your ancestors or to the universe, to the source, the energy, whatever you believe in. But I think we live in a world, in a society where there's toxic positivity. That's why we find all these new words to describe our disappointment, because we've been told and taught we're not supposed to feel like this. We always want to try and imagine things. We always want to try and think, why? Is God punishing me? Oh, is it because I did something wrong a week ago? Or why is this thing happening to me? And I think I agree with Helen there. Life has passing phases. And I think we need to be aware of that. I'm sure you have been somewhere in your life where you thought, oh, am I going to survive this? And yet you're still here. That should teach you something about life and the phases that it has, so that the next time you deal with something difficult, then you know that you are not going to panic. You're actually going to just ask for strength from wherever and take the path, knowing that you're going to emerge on the other side. More of your WhatsApp voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Clement, I have learned that no man is an island. I thought living with people when I was young was boring, but realizing that people are molders of one's life, I wish I knew that before. Hence, I say, treat people with respect. Do unto others what you wish them to do unto you. Thank you.
Hi, Clement. Thank you so much for the show. I wish I could have known earlier that not everyone has the same heart as you do. If you go around thinking that everybody has the same heart as you do, you'll be very disappointed, because you can go all out for people, do things for people wholeheartedly, with love, with kindness. Don't expect to get anything similar in return from anyone. You'd be very disappointed. So it's I wish I could have known from a very early age, so that I just keep on doing and keep on giving and keep on being kind without expecting anything in return. Now I can do that without expecting anything in return.
Good day, Clement. Life has taught me that there are reasons and seasons. Grief in that moment, the loss of loved ones, friends, and how life, we are not on the same page. And it has taught me to understand the reasons and the seasons, because I always look at nature, and that has taught me to be in the moment of whatever I go through, be it happy, sad, good, bad. In that moment, that is my life journey. It took me very long, but that is what life has taught me. Life is life.
I love that. Be in the moment. Oh, how many of us are obsessed about the past and the future that we miss out on the now? How many of us are obsessed about the past and the future? There's a gentleman that Oprah Winfrey always talks to. What's his name? Do you guys remember his name? Is it Akator? There's a psychologist, an author that Oprah Winfrey always talks to. I was listening to their podcast just the other day, running on Sunday, and he speaks about, I must just remember the name. He speaks about how the future is an illusion. It is. No, not Dr. Phil. No. I wouldn't even dare compare this gentleman to Dr. Phil. But he speaks about how the future is an illusion. What matters and what is real is this moment right now. You're hearing my voice now. That's what's real now. Tomorrow, that's an illusion. Yeah, you probably think tomorrow you're going to wake up and wear that white shirt. You probably have prepared it already. You probably think you're going to wake up and do the usual thing of preparing lunch for your kids. That's an illusion. That doesn't exist. But we think that it exists in our minds. And it does help us to an extent, because that helps us actually plan, Like, I know that I want to go away in December. So where do I want to go to? How do I start saving money for that? But we need to realize that what matters is right now. Like, we need to learn to be in the moment. And I'm learning that more and more as I grow older. And I think I've learned that more and more this year, more than ever before, because this is a year where I've lost some really close people to me who had plans. They had plans about the future. And at the moment that they passed, they didn't even know that they are not coming back. They didn't know that they're not going to come back to their desk in the office. They didn't know that they're not coming back to their bedroom. They didn't know that they're not coming back to talk to their friends and their family and their loved ones. And for some reason, I'm always reminded of that. Yes, Eckhart Tolle, or Eckhart Tolle, however you pronounce his surname. I do recommend the podcast. He had a conversation with Oprah Winfrey. Many conversations, but there's one that I was listening to on Sunday. I'll put it up on Twitter for you. It was so fascinating, because it helps you understand why right now matters more than yesterday and matters more than tomorrow. I think we take that for granted. So thank you to that listener who speaks about being in the moment, because I think you're teaching us something as well.
Hello, Clement. This is Mama Kheti Pakeng. And the one thing that I wish I knew when I was younger is that nothing that happens to you is against you. Everything that happens to you is for you, good or bad, challenging or whatever, it's for you. Just look for the silver lining and you will realize that you needed that challenging thing that happened to you. So embrace whatever happens to you because it is for you. Thank you very much.
Oh, so cool. Yeah. Nothing that happens to you is against you. What has life taught you? Thank you, Professor Pakeng. What has life taught you now as we speak? When you're reflecting on life and the lessons, what is that one lesson that you've taken from your 50 years, 40 years, 38 years, 35, whatever, 60, 70, 80 years of life? What is it that life has taught you that you wish you knew in your earlier life?
Good morning. Good morning. What I've learned is that you have to remain humble in life, because I've seen people who were laughing at something, they eventually became that thing. So always remain humble, even if you're a millionaire. Thanks, man.
Good morning, Clement. Oh, I turned 50 this year. And sometime in my 30s or late 20s, I can't remember exactly, I came across the book, The Four Agreements. And agreement number 2 is what transformed my life, although it took a while for me to really live according to the principle. But in my 50s, as I turned 50, late 40s into my 50, I started living by it. And agreement number 2, it says don't take things personal. When somebody compliments you, don't take it personal. It says everything about them. When somebody treats you bad, don't take it personal. It has got nothing to do with you, but everything to do with them. So if we embrace that, then life becomes a little bit easier.
Good morning, Clement. Thanks for the question of what have we learned or what have we wished we learned. I'm of an opinion that it's okay when we go through life and realize the mistakes that we've made along the way and the things that we've learned from those mistakes, rather than looking back and saying, I wish I knew this or that. That's what I believe. That's the motto I live by, because sometimes we look back and we look back with a cloud of regrets and a cloud of should have, could have, would have. But I think it's okay to approach a new day as I've learned 1, 2, and 3, and I'm taking this with me going forward. Thank you. Kia from Pretoria.
Yeah, I do get the point that you raise. I do think that life always gives us an opportunity for reflection. And reflecting on life and looking at the lessons doesn't necessarily mean that you regret what you've done, 1, 2, 3, or what you've not been able to do back when you were young. But it's hindsight. I think hindsight is always best, not just for us, but also for people that are coming. Like, I've got a younger sister who is at university. There are certain things that I wish I could have done when I was at university, which would have really helped me in my career or helped me in my personal development. Those are the kind of things then you teach to the younger generation. And you say to them, and look, they will make their own choices. They will make their own mistakes. They will decide what approach they want to take to life. But I think it's still important for us to reflect and say, actually, being where I am now, I realize that, it's not bad. Like, sometimes my sister calls and she tells me I'm so depressed. I'm tired of school, depressed because of school. I was like, baby girl, we've been there. It feels like that in this moment, but trust me, it's gonna be fine. There was a point where we felt like giving up. There was a point where you thought, oh my God, it's impossible that I will even be able to graduate. And yet, many people who felt that way, who have graduated, who are now employed. And some, yes, sadly may not be, but they've still crossed that line of graduation. And those are the lessons you continuously go back to the people and you say, hey, look, when I was your age, this was my approach. And I realized that it didn't serve me much. It didn't serve me much, you know? So, yeah, part of reflecting is also teaching the other ones that are coming. And I believe there are people listening to us now who are taking lessons from some of you who are telling them, who are expressing what you've learned. I'm definitely taking lessons so that I know that when I'm in this situation or when I feel like this, I know that there are many other people that have gone through that and they've made it. Andile, you're calling us from Dobsonville. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Clement. Great show. Yeah, my life lesson is that it's what my mother told me. No matter how bad things get, if you only have that faith and belief, you'll always get through, you know. So I definitely wouldn't change a thing, because all the experiences basically have shaped who I am and my perspective in life, you know.
So faith was very important for you then, Andile. And
sorry,
hope. So you're saying faith and hope was quite central.
Yeah, you know, well, I'll tell you, when things got rough at home, my mother always said in Zulu, "Ithemba albulali," which means when you have faith and hope, you know, it won't kill you. You know, it will only make you stronger, because that helps you to maintain that positive perspective. That no matter how bad things get, no matter how bruised, battered, and you think, you know, it's hopeless, if you maintain that faith and hope, you'll always come through on the other end.
Yeah, Andile, thank you so much for sharing that with us. You know, there was actually, I remember, there's a book that I was, what do you say? Do you say I was part of? That I want to tell you about, because I've just remembered something now as Andile was speaking. There's a book that was compiled by a gentleman by the name of Temba. Maybe we should bring him on the line and he can tell you more about it, because I think it is a fascinating book. It's titled 25 Lessons at 25. Lessons from Leaders, Thinkers, and Trailblazers by Thembaletu Seyisi. So this is someone who has basically asked a few of us to write essays about lessons that we have learned and what we wish we knew at the age of 25. It's a great project. The proceeds of this book are going to go to an organization that he has picked. But what he's done, he's invited people like, you know, Thuli Madonsela, he's invited Bruce Whitfield, he's invited people like the public protector. There are so many people that I think 25 people, Sylvester Chauke, Imtiaz Suleiman. There are a number of people that he invited, and he said, please write me an essay, talk to your 25-year-old self. And I've just remembered what I had written when I wrote my piece, which is also part of the book. So if you're interested, you can go get the book. And I wrote about the power of comfortability. And then maybe after the headlines, what I'll do is I'll read you about 3 or 4 paragraphs of what I had written, because at 25, I was a completely different person. My approach to life was completely different to where I am now. But I think that is also just an interesting moment of reflection, because you see what life has taught you, and you can say to someone who's 25 or someone who's still coming up and say, this is how I dealt with this. This is the pressure I faced. And many times you'll realize people, we are facing the same challenges, but just in different forms. It's 10:32. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. We're going to come back with more of your calls and your WhatsApps as we continue with our healing hour, reflecting on life lessons we've learned along the way that we wish we'd known when we were much younger. What is that one life lesson for you which you wish you knew earlier on in your life? Sfiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clements. Good morning. Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry into corruption within the criminal justice system has hit a snag this morning after EFF leader Julius Malema raised questions about a statement submitted by KwaZulu-Natal top cop Nhlanhla Konazi. Malema asked under what basis would Konazi take an oath before his testimony without a new statement submitted to the committee. Konazi is expected to give testimony in the parliamentary inquiry just 2 weeks after appearing before the Madlanga Commission to unpack allegations he made in July this year. Nelson Mandela Bay Mayor Babalwa Lubishe says she doesn't agree with MPs who have argued that businesses are no longer investing in Gqeberha because the city is poorly run. On the first day of Parliament's oversight in the province, the MK party yesterday said that the 50% water losses in the municipality was a crime against humanity, while the IFP said that the city was dripping in corruption. And Syrian government forces and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces have agreed to a ceasefire in Aleppo. It follows tensions between the two sides escalated into attacks on the northern city. At least one member of Syria's domestic security forces and a civilian were killed yesterday in the attack in Aleppo, attributed to Kurdish forces. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
There's queuing traffic on the M1 South. This is as you approach Harton Drive, and there's also queuing traffic on this route just as you approach Empire Road. Please be on the lookout there. While traveling in Calvin, bumper-to-bumper traffic along the N3 North between Vincent Chabalala Road and the Kuku interchange, and that's due to roadworks taking place along this route. If you are traveling on the N3 South towards the Bedford View area, do expect delays due to an accident right near Linksfield Road. It is causing heavy traffic volumes, and there's also queuing traffic on the N12 as well as the R24 West between Edenvale Road and the Gululis interchange, and that's due to roadworks along this route. There's more roadworks on the M1 South in the Crown Gardens area. This is between Xavier Street and the Uncle Charlie's interchange, causing delays there. Please be on the lookout and approach with care. More updates coming up at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
We have Julius Malema. Should he also still be part of that ad hoc committee, given the fact that he's now convicted criminal?
He did indicate that he's going to appeal that verdict against him. But if then we want to promote ethical leadership in South Africa, tomorrow if our hands are found to be in a cookie jar, he's supposed to not to participate. And then until he wait, there will be other opportunities in the future.
Professor Jacob Mufokeng, independent crime and security expert.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Zanzi, have you bought your Powerball ticket for the mind-blowing 120 million rand estimated jackpot this Tuesday? Don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 120 million rand jackpot today for your chance at winning the big millions. Buy your tickets now in-store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial star 120 star 7529 hash for USSD. Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Zahira was tired. So tired, she let her eyes rest a bit. It was bad. So bad. She replaced 4 hours of spreadsheets with... It was bad. So bad. Too bad she didn't have Yoko Counter. It automatically recon sales, tracks stock, and staff performance. So good. Yoko Counter. Super simple POS and payments in one. No contracts, no hidden costs.
Okay, truck 7, that has 0 warning lights. Truck 8, it's just been serviced. I guess we're running like a well-oiled machine. Where would I be without MyWay's comprehensive cover for my vans and trucks? Plus, cover for my customers' orders with goods and transit insurance. I guess we'll never know.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. MyWay is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. MyWay. Live your way.
702.
Healing Hour.
23 minutes before 11 o'clock, we are doing our monthly feature, The Healing Hour. And this is what we do once every month, where we just dedicate an hour to having a conversation among ourselves as the 702 family. And today we are reflecting on life lessons that we've learned along the way. And I've been asking you this morning, as you reflect on your life lessons, what has life taught you that you wish you knew earlier on in your life, when you were still in your 30s, maybe when you're still in your 20s, or when you're still a teenager, whatever it is. What has life taught you today that you didn't understand back then and you wish you did understand? We're taking your calls on 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702.
Good morning, Clement. Clement, what I have learned is happiness. For you to be happy, do not waver. For anybody else, do not change. For anybody else, do not compromise yourself for anybody else. Be happy and content with who you are. Do everything that makes you happy first. Then everybody else will follow. You will see how easy your life is. Do not live your life chasing money, but live your life for your happiness.
Hi, Clement. Life has taught me that you always need to treat people with respect, and you need to, make sure that when you interact with them, it's through a humble, respectful manner. Because often arrogance arrogance comes before the downfall. This is Kokezo from Joburg.
Hey Clement, Bongani here. The one thing I wish I'd known when I was younger was that I was going to be okay. Was just going to be okay. Everything was going to be okay. There are so many experiences that feel unique to us when you feel excluded because you are different, when your life doesn't go the way that you thought it would, the way that you planned, when it feels like the world has turned its back on you, when it feels as if God himself is against you and nobody quite understands. In those moments of darkness when you feel entirely alone, one of the things that you have to remember is that through each of those stages, whether it's the loss of a parent, the loss of a child, the loss of a spouse, the loss of a partner, loss in love, losing money, losing a home, losing everything you once held dear, you will be okay. Because whatever it is that you lose, you find ways to gain yourself. And it's there that I think you should draw strength. It's always going to be okay.
Yeah. So whatever you are going through, whatever situation is facing you, just know that there's so many people that have had unique experiences where they felt this is it. And they've somehow, as Bongani says, found themselves. So it's always going to be okay. So I once wrote this remember I told you about that book earlier on. This book that we contributed towards, it's titled 25 Lessons at 25. Lessons from leaders, thinkers, and trailblazers. I was asked to also contribute something. There are many other people that have contributed to the book where they wrote essays about what they basically have learned, right, with life. And this is what I wrote. I'm not going to read you all of it because it's quite a lot. But there was a section where I wrote about the power of comfortability. And then I go on to say that one of the most profound shifts in my life came when I stopped letting other people's opinions define me. At 25, I was still heavily influenced by societal expectations. I wanted to be liked. I wanted to succeed. I wanted to be recognized. I cared way too much about what people thought of me. If someone praised me, it gave me a high. But if someone criticized me, it would ruin my day. I would sit with it, turning it over in my mind, wondering what I'd done wrong and how to fix it. It took me years to realize that if you live by people's praise, you're going to die by their criticism. That's probably the most important lesson I've learned in the last decade. People will praise you one day and criticize you the next day. You can't live your life based on that. That's the thing about comfortability. You don't have to respond to everything. You don't decide that you're comfortable with and what you're not. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your choices. these days, I'm comfortable with who I am and the choices I make. I don't owe anyone an explanation for the life I've built. I can live in the home I want. I can drive the car I want. I can date whoever I want without worrying about what people think. I've learned that you don't have to respond to everything. Being comfortable means knowing when to speak and when to let it go. And then I go on and on and on and on, and you can read more about it in this book that I'm telling you about now, which is titled 25 Lessons at 25. And you know who the author of 25 Lessons at 25 is Thembaletu Seyisi, who's actually joining us now on the line, because I think he could probably share with us something that was probably common amongst all these people that he asked to write about life lessons in this book. Themba, thank you so much for coming through, man, at such short notice. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to your listeners. I am hugely grateful for this privilege.
Yeah, and once again, I've said this to you, but congratulations on this project. I think it's just incredible to hear from these incredible thinkers, these trailblazers, and hear what their life lessons are as they reflect on their lives. Can you maybe share with us what you've picked up? Because you've looked at all the stories that we have shared with you, that you've published in your book. But what is it that you think has been the central theme here that many of us have actually experienced when we were 25 that we share in the book?
Clement, the one theme that really runs through the book is the love for this country. 25 Life Lessons at 25 is a mixture between great South Africans and giants of our continent. And really, the one central theme is that none of you gave up. All 25 people still push to today, not because they want their lives to be better, but also they want this country and the continent to be better. It came up in various contributions in different ways. For example, I think Ashraf makes the point, your listeners would be quite familiar with Ashraf Garda, who's at the SAFM family, about champion nations building champion people. You cannot have a champion nation without having built champion people. And those are people that are willing to work for their country. Even when life is difficult, you don't only get up for yourself, but you get up for your country as well.
Oh, love that. I love that. And how do people get a hold of the book? I've got some people asking, where can we read about these stories? How do they purchase it?
Luckily for those who are in Joburg, the exclusive books in Rosebank has copies. For those who are around other parts of the country, you can go to Uhlanga Books, the website by my publisher, and you'll find a way to get the book from the website.
Books. But if you're in Johannesburg, Rosebank already has it. Rosebank exclusive books. Okay. Themba, thank you so much. I don't want to keep you for too long. I just wanted to come and share that central theme, but also tell the people where they can find this book, those that are interested to read about these stories. It's titled 25 Lessons at 25. You can hear from people like Basitsana Kumalo there, Bruce Whitfield, Thuli Madonsela, Imtiaz Suleiman, who's the founder of Gift of the Givers, and many, many, many others. You can read about what their life lessons have been. I thought it was quite fascinating. It's 14 minutes now before 11 o'clock. We go back to more of your WhatsApp voice notes after the break.
When I say insurance, you say pineapple. Insurance.
Pineapple.
Insurance.
Pineapple.
Insurance.
Pineapple.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our new Boksburg showroom, Shop A1, Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg. or go to sweetor.com today. Sweetor, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
Unlock exciting bonus prizes when you top up your Betway account with a Betway Bucks voucher. From millions in cash and bonuses to extra bets and so much more, every top up is a chance to score big. Head over to leading retailers including Pick and Pay, Checkers, Pep Stores, and Incredible Connection and top up with Betway today. Terms and conditions apply. Betway is licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. South African Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Winners know when to stop.
702.
Healing Hour.
12 minutes before 11 o'clock. Straight to your WhatsApps on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Clement. Hope you're good. One thing that I've learned is that no one really cares. No one really cares. What you're going through, what you've been through, you're on your own. You're on your own. And until we all realize that we have no one but ourselves, then you start pushing and start blaming people for everything that has happened. And that's when things will really make sense. So that's one thing that I've learned, that as a person, you're on your own and no one cares. No one cares. So you have to do it yourself, whatever that you need to do. This is Lazola from Pretoria.
Hi, Clement. Good morning. You know what I have learned is that life is a gift, and if you do not treat with it carefully, you can be destroyed, or you can destroy others. So I've learned that at a much later state, after I lost the use of my legs. So, and yes, you have to respect this very life that has been given unto you. Do not take advantage of it. Thank you.
Hi, Clement. Lovely topic. Thank you for that. I think one of the things I've learned with time is that you really appreciate the people that have brought you up and the things that they've done for you and how much they've sacrificed for you. And my parents always told me when I was younger, when you have your own children, then you'll understand. And I always thought, I never took it seriously. And then I did have my children. And then you suddenly realize just how much it takes to bring up children. And so I'm very humbled by that. And I think I appreciate my parents a lot more now than I ever did before.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating that as we grow older, that's when we actually tend to appreciate our parents and their efforts more than we did when we were young, because we were so naive, Sometimes I get irritated with myself when I remember how I used to be upset because, my mom used to give me money for grocery to contribute towards grocery when I was in varsity and I was staying in this one room with 3 friends, and we used to contribute towards grocery, and that money would come late. And I never used to understand it. I used to think, why are you giving me this money late? This guy's already contributed 2 days ago. Because she still had to go and take a loan. And this would happen almost every single month. And you realize that much later, that in hindsight, these are your parents who are trying to hustle to get you through school. But in that moment, you are so naive and so self-absorbed as a teenager that you think, everything must stop and the parents must have whatever you want at whatever time you want it, which is quite ridiculous. And that's one thing that you learn as you grow older and older, isn't it? Let me read some texts and I'll go back to some more calls and WhatsApps. Let me start here. Let's start with this one who says, "Hi Clement, this is Natia. Life has taught me that anything you do in the dark, one day it will be known. Tlabeli pepeneneng. That's nutty there. Another one says, Clement, I wish I knew that adulting is a scam. Icona, siyakowisha. That's Refile in Alberton. And then Vic says, Clement, growing up thinking we'll get old with my friends. That's one thing I've learned. 3 of them have died before the age of 30 years. That other painful reminder that the people you're with are not always going to be there with you, right? Another one says, hi Clement, life has taught me that 1, nothing lasts forever in this world. 2, nobody likes you except for your parents, and in some occasions they too don't. Really? Number 3, death is an eye-opener for you, for us, and all. Nelson here, great show. Thank you, Nelson, for that. Yeah, I did say earlier on that, for me, this year has taught me so much, and through death, because I've lost 2 friends in the space of 3 months. And I think that opened my eyes so much about life. My approach to life has fundamentally changed because of that experience. So I absolutely agree with you there. Another one says, Clement, for me, what life taught me is that if you are indecisive, then the world around you will make the choices for you. Another one says, Clement, I'm constantly telling myself to be where my feet are. That put things into perspective for me as an anxious overthinker who plans excessively. Even my plan B has a plan B. So I'm constantly saying this to myself to be in the present. I also wish I knew in my mid-20s to extend to myself the same grace I freely give to others. I'm so hard on myself, but I'm learning to be kinder to myself, to be present and take things slowly. That's a message there from Samu. Samu, so important to extend grace to yourself. How many of us are so quick to extend that grace to other people around us? Your partner who has consistently been breaking your heart, or friends who sometimes have never really cared as you do, your parents who have made mistakes, but you're so hard on yourself. We need to be more and more gracious to ourselves. Another one says, Clement, everything happens for a reason. It can be good or bad. That's what I have learned. That's a message there from Caiaphas. Let's go back to your WhatsApps.
Hi, Clement. It's Katlego from Davidson. Great show, by the way. What I've learned, Clement, from life is that my past mistakes, I'll call them even lessons. I am what I am because of what happened in the past, whether good or bad. And also, I must say, I like the man I'm becoming due to everything that happened in the past, whether good or bad. And also, I've learned to be more humble and respect people. Doesn't matter where you come from, your background or anything, just respect people.
And then another one says, Clement, what I've learned is that no one is coming for you. Another one says, Clement, life taught me if you don't rest, your body will do it for you. Listen, this I've experienced myself. Another one says, Clement, I've learned that when making vital decisions about your life, make them for you, not for anyone else, be it your family or your friends. The other one says, Clement, I wish I could have started my retirement annuity at an early age when I started working in my life. Every year I get rebates from SARS. My money is good, but I wish it could be more. Great lesson there. And I suppose for many of us that are still, in the labor force, we can take a lesson or two from that. Dr. Lepoto on Twitter says, Clement, nothing that happens to you is against you. No, that's a blanket statement. I simply cannot agree with that. Nonetheless, I get the overall gist of that topic. Yeah, there is someone who said that's what they've learned, is that nothing that happens to you is actually against you. And then another one says, hi, Clement. Yeah, I really wish that I had learned to be patient when I was much younger. There's so many things I ended up doing because I just wanted to make it quickly, regardless of the cost. Aldrin says, hi, I wish I knew and recognized the power of prayer and the faith prayer requires. Hey? The power of prayer and the faith prayer requires. It's 2 minutes now before 11 o'clock.
For the best marine migration, you go to KZN. For the best hiking trails, you go to the Drakensberg. For the best flower show, you go to Namakwaland. And for the best in investments, go to Nedbank. Earn up to 10.47% interest with a Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. For better returns, open an Electronic Optimum Plus account today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
In Africa, we say the chameleon looks in all directions before moving. At Plus 94 Research, we understand the importance of careful consideration. By analyzing comprehensive data and diverse perspectives, we help you make informed decisions that stand the test of time. Don't leap without looking. Move forward with insight and precision. Plus 94 Research, the science of decision making.
Medical care, like music, needs continuity, a steady rhythm and pattern. Patients attended to on time, medication taken as prescribed. Cut the rhythm, and it falls apart. Right now, global funding cuts are restricting access to healthcare. With your support, Doctors Without Borders can continue to provide medical care to communities worldwide. Because medicine, like music, only works when uninterrupted. Doctors Without Borders, we go there.
Clement is on X.
At The Real Clement M.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing all of your life lessons. I'm sure you have learned, well, you've taught a lot of people out there. Maya Angelou always used to say, when you get, you give. When you learn, you teach. And I think there are many of us that have learned through life. And what you've done in return by sharing your stories and your lessons with us today is to teach us, so that should we face sort of the similar things that you have gone through, we know how to handle that, and we know not to think this is the end. So I really appreciate you for that. It's 11 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. 6 South African activists who were detained by Israeli forces have arrived in Jordan. The group was part of more than 400 other pro-Palestinian activists from around the world who were intercepted while trying to reach Gaza to deliver aid. The International Relations Department says it was informed by Israeli authorities about the release of the South African activists, including former President Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mandla Mandela. Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry into corruption within the criminal justice system has hit a snag this morning after EFF leader Julius Malema raised questions about a statement submitted by KwaZulu-Natal top cop Nhlanhla Konazi. Malema asked under what basis would Konazi take an oath before his testimony without a new statement submitted to the committee. Konazi is expected to give testimony in the parliamentary inquiry 2 weeks after appearing before the Madlanga Commission to unpack allegations he made in July this year. Malema argued that Konazi cannot take an oath without a fresh statement submitted to the committee.
He says General Konazi took an oath at the Madlanga Commission. And therefore, because he took an oath at Madlanga Commission, because we do what Madlanga has done, why should he take an oath here if that's how it works? He disposed the statement at Madlanga. His statement at Madlanga is the statement before us. Going to take an oath twice on the same statement. On the same statement. There's no law that says that.
Proceedings have been temporarily adjourned. Nelson Mandela Bay Mayor Babalwa Lubishe says she doesn't agree with MPs who have argued that businesses are not investing in Gqeberha anymore because the city is poorly run. On the first day of parliamentary oversight in the province, the MK party yesterday said the 50% water losses in the municipality was a crime against humanity, while the IFP said the city was dripping in corruption. Lubishe says the recent closure of the Goodyear tyre factory was not in any way related to the performance of the Municipal Council. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
Despite the regression in audit opinion from an unqualified to a qualified audit, Nelson Mandela Bay municipal officials and councillors downplayed the financial mismanagement issues raised by the provincial government during a meeting with Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance. Mayor Babalwa Lubishe says the municipality is not to blame for the sluggish local economy and said while the Goodyear factory had closed, other pharmaceutical and motoring companies are expanding their footprint in the province.
To agree on disinvestment would really be misinforming Parliament.
Asked by MPs as to what kept her awake at night, Lubishe had this to say.
What keeps me awake are the financial losses at electricity and energy. Also, there's no expedience in employing on critical vacancies.
Lubishe says water losses are also concerning to her. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
And Syrian government forces and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces have agreed to a ceasefire in Aleppo. It follows after tensions between the two sides escalated into attacks in the northern city. At least one member of Syria's domestic security force and civilian were killed yesterday in the attack attributed to the Kurdish forces. Since the toppling of former leader Bashar al-Assad in December, Aleppo has been ruled by Syria's new authorities. Gold is trading at $3,953.35 an ounce. The rand is at 17.20 to the dollar, 23.11 to the pound, 20.07 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.53 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the M1 South. This is between Xavier Street and the Uncle Charlie's interchange. And that's due to roadworks taking place along this route while traveling on the M1 South at the double-decker section. There's some delays between the double-decker section and Carr Street. Please be on the lookout there and expect about a 15-minute hold-up. There's also queuing traffic along the N1 North. This is just as you approach the Baklu interchange coming out of Rivonia Road. An accident has been reported between those 2 points.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 28 and 30 degrees. The top story in EW in this hour: 6 South African activists who were detained by Israeli forces have arrived in Jordan.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
It's 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Time now for our World of Work feature.
702.
World of Work.
We're talking about the impact of unemployment on mental health on our World of Work feature this morning. As you are aware, in August, Stats SA released fresh findings from its quarterly labor force survey, revealing that unemployment rose by 140,000 people, which was bringing now the total jobless count to about 8.4 million people. These are the people in this country that are without jobs. What that does is that it pushes the official unemployment rate up from 32.9% to 33.2%. But as I said earlier, these are not just numbers, right? These numbers are more than just statistics. Behind them lie a silent mental health crisis. There are people who've got widespread anxiety, got depression, who have feelings of shame and hopelessness because they just are struggling to find a job. So as more and more people find themselves unemployed, the weight of self-worth also erodes. So it's important to understand then how unemployment and mental health collide, why they magnify each other, and what hope and resilience look like in communities that are under pressure. And I would like you to share your own experiences with us. Are you unemployed? How do you handle your mental health during that state? Or Do you remember a time when you were unemployed? How did you handle it? How difficult was it for you mentally? If you have someone perhaps who is unemployed in your family, how do you even support them? Because that support structure is important. You can give us a call on 011-883-0702 or send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Professor Linnea Grobner is an industrial psychologist who's going to guide us through this conversation. Prof, thank you for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thank you.
When we look at these unemployment figures, over 8 million South Africans that are without work, that's really quite concerning. What do they tell us, these numbers, about the mental and emotional toll that unemployment takes on individuals?
Yes, it is. It's very disheartening, and it's among the highest in the world, actually. And what we know is having meaningful work gives us a sense of purpose and fulfillment. We feel motivated and engaged, and that improves our mental health. So the opposite is true. Not finding work leads to a decrease in self-esteem, self-confidence, the constant feeling of I'm not good enough. And what we know is studies show that unemployment really increases the risk and the severity even of mental health conditions.
So from a psychological perspective, though, why does job loss so deeply affect a person's sense of identity and self-worth? Because I do find that whenever we even have conversations on the show with men who are or have been unemployed, for them it's even worse because they've always defined themselves, or society has always taught us that we define ourselves as like the breadwinners in the family. So we, you're the man of the house. You're supposed to be able to provide. So the minute that's taken away from you and you're unemployed, it's almost like I'm not enough. I'm a big failure. So help us understand from a psychological perspective why that kind of job loss or unemployment then would affect someone's sense of identity and self-worth.
Absolutely. You actually said it. Having work, gives us social status, also adds to a daily structure and meaning and purpose. And what we feel, is you're having work and you're contributing and you sharing your service or your skill, and you're being rewarded for that. And in turn, you're the breadwinner and you're supporting your family at home. There's a social cohesion. And losing that severely affects an individual's identity. We see that especially with the breadwinners who lose that sense of purpose, that sense of self-worth, ultimately affecting their identity, even not only in males, also females who also head households, who's the nurturer and the carer as well. We also see that lack of identity with them as well.
And in your professional experience, what do you deal with mostly when it comes to the people that are unemployed? What are some of the common mental health challenges that arise or conditions among unemployed individuals, and how do those normally typically manifest themselves?
Yeah. Well, apart from the mental health conditions like depression, that immense sadness, you also have anxiety because there's a financial hardship that goes with it. Where am I going to provide for my family from? And then what you do see also substance use disorders, even suicidal behaviors. But mostly what stands out is that sense of shame, the over and over being rejected, not being selected for a job, the embarrassment, that really affects someone at their core.
Yeah. How do you then help people that are struggling with that self-worth, with that sense of identity, who are feeling depressed, who are feeling anxious because they are unemployed? And as you know, Prof, when we talk about unemployment now, it's beyond just these young people who perhaps didn't have an opportunity to go to university. Now we've got unemployed graduates. These days we've got people who've graduated who simply are struggling to be absorbed in the labor force. But also we've got people who are older, right? People who are around 40s, who are 48, who are unemployed, and they struggle to get a job because also, companies are not so open-minded or welcoming to people of those ages into their companies. How do you think they need to, how they can survive that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely true what you're saying. It's not only just the young adults struggling to find work. It's very concerning to see graduates as well. And extremely disheartening is the older workforce, if I can call them that. Myself, I'm also under that classification. But I think for me, when I work with someone who's really struggling to find employment and really going through a tough time, is to look at supporting them through a good conversation in terms of having healthy coping mechanisms during this time. And I always tell them, your work now is job searching. So you stick to your daily routine, really focusing on having a good structure, getting that structure back in their life. Because if they don't have that structure in their daily routine, that they lose the identity of who they are quickly, and then they kind of spiral down. So what's important is to get up, stick to a daily routine. Your work is job searching, find a space to go and sit down and improve your CV, work on applications. But then I also focus on the coping mechanisms in terms of the stress and the anxiety, because that is what's taking the cognitive and the emotional load on them. And that you can do through a conversation, we call it counseling, but also coaching, good life skills, good life coaching, and just someone who can support them and be that person that you can check in with and normalize the emotion, because it's normal to feel helpless and hopeless. Over and over being rejected. Someone has to tell you, no, that sucks. I'm so sorry that you're going through that. And encourage them, and what can we do to support you, and focus on the positive attributes.
Yeah. So, some people believe that once you then find work again, then your mental health automatically improves. From your research, is that necessarily what you found?
On the contrary, actually, what we have seen is that the mental health can even deteriorate, because especially after a lengthy time of being unemployed, the stress now of being employed and being fearful of losing the job again, or the fear of not performing well, that takes its toll. And people kind of go into, it's almost like a, don't want to call it burnout, but almost like that, where they just overly stress so much with themselves under immense pressure.
Sure. Okay. I want to take some calls on 011-883-0702, WhatsApp voice notes on 072-702-1702. Are you unemployed? How have you handled that in as far as your mental health is concerned? Perhaps you know someone who is unemployed in your family. How do you support them? 011-883-0702. Send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702.
Morning, Clement. You're too big. So, Clement, I am employed, but my partner, she's unemployed. So she's been looking for a job, but with no luck. I just want to talk about the support system. So she was staying here in Gauteng, and then her sister chased her out because she's saying, no, she can't carry everything. Luckily, I'm employed and I can take care of her and my kid. But the emotional damage that happened to her, Clement, is shocking. So she, every now and then, she's thinking of committing suicide, but I've been supporting her and sending her to therapy. Clement, support system. I just want to say to people out there who are not working in their families, let's support each other. This thing is very hard. Very hard.
Yeah, and Prof, this listener speaks about the importance of the support system there. I mean, that is very important, and maybe you can give us some tips, some of us who live with people that are facing this, and are feeling anxious or depressed, they feel like giving up, or maybe we know our loved ones, how can we be of support to them? Because you also don't want to be the kind of person that just comes back and throws at them these emails, or send your your CV here, this application form, or just get into this. Because sometimes we don't even ask them, what are you interested in? What do you want to do? What do you think more sort of fits what you want to do? Because we think because they are unemployed, then they'll take just whatever. And that's not to suggest that they shouldn't, but I've picked up that sometimes when you take that approach, you are just worsening, how the people feel. So what's the best way then to be of great support to people who are going through this?
Sure. Yeah, what I'm hearing is the emotional strain on this person with his partner being unemployed, and seeing the emotional burden on that partner as well. Yeah, I think what is so important is to keep hope actually as the one supporting the partner without employment, and to acknowledge what you're seeing. What you're saying is so important. It's not to encourage this person overly to apply for any job, or to question this person, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you getting a job? But to just acknowledge what you're seeing, reflecting. I can imagine that you are feeling hopeless and helpless by now. What can I do to support you, or encourage you, but also to remind them of who they are, their worth for them as their partner. I think that's so important, that they know that they have not lost self-worth in that person's eyes. And I would say what's so important is to get them support from, if I can call it, like-minded individuals in the same boat, such as a support group. I know SADAG, South African Depression and Anxiety Group, have an unemployment support group. And I think being with individuals who share the same sentiment and understand that burden helps immensely.
Here's another one.
Hi, Clement, Puti here. The unemployment issue, it's a serious problem in this country. The last time I kissed corporate SA was in 2023. And I haven't been employed since that time. That was my last time when I see my formal salary, pay slip or paycheck. And the saddest part is I have been applying, and I haven't been lucky with not even a single interview since that time. It's really taking a toll on my mental health. I even went to an extent that I don't even know what to do anymore. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Yeah. And as I said, Prof, it's more difficult when you actually have responsibilities, right? Yeah. And I'm not suggesting it's much easier for someone who's young, doesn't have kids, but when you compare that to someone who has responsibilities, you are married, you've got children that are in school, they need to be taken care of. There's a pile of responsibilities you need to attend to, and here you are unemployed. That's really difficult. And I know that some unemployed people feel ashamed, or they fear being judged. That's why they wouldn't easily seek psychological help or emotional support, because also there's stigma here that's attached to this. What's your advice for people who are worried about opening up about how they feel, either to their loved ones or to a therapist or to their pastor or their traditional leader? How important is it to just talk to someone and express how you're feeling? Because a lot of them are just bottling up their feelings, and you want to appear brave because that's what we expect, right? Because there's this toxic positivity as well, where we just tell people, just be positive, you'll be fine, you'll get it one day. So you end up now appearing so brave and resilient because it's what we are all expecting from you as we quote unquote offer you this support.
Yeah. That false positivity. It's like telling someone who's looking for a life partner, there's a lot of fishes in the sea. That does not help them at all. It helps nothing. What's so important during a conversation with a trusted person, like you mentioned, a pastor or a friend or a counselor, there's an emotional and cognitive burden that is being lifted, and then there's more clarity and perspective that enters. So, and it's so contradictory because the shame and the hopelessness and the helplessness keeps someone from reaching out to the very person who could actually bring that clarity. So I would say if this person is so shameful not to share with the close family, I can completely understand. But to reach out to the resources that are available, such as helplines or support groups, or there's a lot of free services available that we can mention a bit later. But just to alleviate that pressure so that the cognitive and emotional burden is lifted and they regain hope. And regularly, to do that regularly, like this person said, since 2023, he's been searching for work. Imagine that strain, for year on and year on and year on. You cannot cope alone. You need that support, and to use it as a lifeline.
Let's go to some more WhatsApp voice notes.
Hi, Clement, and to the professor there. Here, the issue of unemployment is a serious problem, because you try to give support, but you also unemployed. I'm a parent who is unemployed, and I'm struggling with kids, or let me say, like young adults who are unemployed and who their depression, it leads them to drugs. And after taking drugs, you send them to the rehab, but they still come back. They still get frustrated. They still get depressed because they are unemployed, and they relapse. It's a serious problem.
Hi, Clement. I've been unemployed for 2 years now, and I think one of the most difficult aspects is the social side. I can't go out with my friends as often because they would be going to restaurants or paying for activities, and while most of them are really kind, I also have the shame and guilt of being a burden, which I wouldn't want to impose on them. And then it is the psychological support side as well, because I can't, for example, join a yoga studio because that's quite expensive, or a sports club because there are fees to pay for that. And even my psychologists and counselors are really expensive. And yes, I can consult the services that the government provides or non-profits provide, but then it doesn't come with the consistency and history, like medical history, that you get from the more private medical services as well. So it's been very isolating. I think I've been coping by continuing to learn, to be honest. I've immersed myself in courses and reading and just staying upskilled. But I've definitely lost a lot of my social network, which of course causes another problem about not being able to network and find the opportunities that you need to get employed again.
Sure, yeah, I get that. Yeah, Prof, I mean, you lose that social network, but then you also need it, but also you don't want to be a burden to when you go to these places, because when you've got friends, they want to go out. You need to be in the social spaces. You must still interact with them, but you also don't want to be a burden where they're constantly paying for your food, your drinks, understanding you're unemployed. So how do we navigate that?
Yeah, the thing is we want to buy nice things for ourselves and interact and go out with friends. So you're almost robbed of that. And I just want to reflect on the lady also with the young adults. Instead of becoming contributors, they remain dependents, even contributing more, to household stress and conflict. And the last lady's comment about upskilling is so important for me. Really to just keep building that CV. And there's so many free resources that's available now. For example, Coursera or Udemy, where you can enroll for free courses and just immerse yourself in upskilling, developing yourself, and that also helps with the self-esteem to improve your skills constantly.
So I'm agreeing with your guest there. The level of anxiety is going through the roof for us who are unemployed, because when the phone call comes through, you don't know whether it's an opportunity for you or it's one of those debt collectors coming through to take your house or your car. With me personally, I've lost a car already, and next it will be my house for sure. But the wife is also gone, so anxiety levels are astronomical for some of us. Thank you for the good show.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, Prof.
That uncertainty, hey? That constant anxiety, like you said, you don't know if it's a call for someone who wants to take your house or if it's a potential employer.
Yeah. What message would you share with our listeners that are currently facing unemployment and feeling hopeless now? How can they begin to rebuild, that sense of purpose and self-belief, even in the midst of what they're going through? Any last message before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to say that it's more than just an individual problem. It's a society problem where we must really build peer support networks, community-based initiatives, and really to just make a call out there for those who do have the skills to develop those skills development programs. And for those who are feeling hopeless, I really want to encourage you to be mindful of your mental health and to search for someone in whom you can confide, have regular check-ins. Apart from the helplines, like that lady said, I am cognizant of the consistency of it, but there are some support groups that can provide at least some sort of a consistency. And keep building your CV, keep working on that focus, from day to day, only focus on today. I think that's important.
Well, Professor Linnea Grobner, industrial psychologist, thank you so much for those words and for guiding us through this conversation, looking at the impact of unemployment on mental health. I'm going to wrap up with the message from Anonymous, who says, Clement, I got retrenched in December 2024. I feel like a failure and I feel worthless. I cannot understand why I got retrenched when I was always working for 24 years. I've turned to serious alcohol abuse because I don't know how to cope with my anxiousness, depression, and most the shame of losing my job. I choose to stay at home because I don't want to deal with people. And as you've heard the Prof say, it's so important for you to still be out there with people. But it's also so understandable because you sometimes don't want to come across as if you're a burden to other people you interact with, who must now be responsible for certain things you're unable to cover yourself. But yeah, our hearts are really with a lot of you that are going through this now, and I really hope that something will come up soon. It's 11:30 now. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Mbali, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. 6 South African activists who were detained by Israeli forces have now arrived in Jordan. The group was part of more than 400 other activists from around the world who were intercepted while trying to reach Gaza to deliver aid. The International Relations Department says it was informed by Israeli authorities about their release. Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry into corruption within the criminal justice system has hit a snag this morning after EFF leader Julius Malema raised questions about a statement submitted by KZN top cop Konazi. Malema asked under what basis would Konazi take an oath before his testimony without a new statement submitted to the committee. Konazi is expected to give testimony in the parliamentary inquiry just 2 weeks after appearing before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And the Road Accident Fund says it is clearing the backlog of thousands of unprocessed claims, but in many cases, claimants are just trying their luck. It's day one of a parliamentary inquiry into malfeasance at the fund. Deputy Minister of Transport, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, says the inquiry is running parallel to a legislative review conducted by his department. Those are the headlines this EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling in Kelvin, we still have got those roadworks along the N3 North causing delays between Marlborough Drive and the Buccleuch interchange, while in Midrand there's some delays on the N1 South between New Road and Allendale Road. Please be on the lookout there. While traveling on the N3 South, queuing traffic between the Kilulis interchange and Van Buren Road. That's due to roadworks along this route. More roadworks are taking place in Devlin along the Golden Highway, causing delays between the N1 and Union Avenue. Traffic lights are still out of order in Rand Park Ridge at the N1 and Bearsnodia Drive. They're also out in Linksfield at the N3 North and Linksfield Road. Please be on the lookout and approach with care. More updates at the top of the hour with Karabo Jali. That was your last traffic update from me, Amo Ramela. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
Would you accept that there are some churches set up with the specific intention of preying on vulnerable people for their money? Do you believe that's happening?
Yes, it is happening. And as it is happening, as I said before, we have got laws that can be applied in order to bring the criminals to book. You don't need extra things, because when we listen to the chairperson of the CRL, she has been pushing, we need to regulate. And she's mainly after the Christian church.
Professor Mfariseni Mukuba.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
Zanzi, have you bought your Powerball ticket for the mind-blowing 120 million rand estimated jackpot this Tuesday? Well, don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 120 million rand jackpot today for your chance at winning the big millions. Buy your tickets now in-store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda push-up play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
To celebrate 25 years of helping you live the Premier life, FNB Premier is giving you a chance to win a 14-day European tour experience and other cool monthly prizes. Open any FNB Premier account from September to 31 December 2025. Switch your salary, swipe or tap a minimum of 2,000 Rand per month for 3 months straight. Spend and win with FNB Premier. FNB, help changes everything. TCs and competition rules apply. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za. 702
Health and Wellness.
25 before 12 o'clock on our health and wellness feature this morning, we're discussing dyslexia. October is Dyslexia Awareness Month, the time dedicated to understanding what is really, I think, one of the most common but often misunderstood learning differences. As you know, dyslexia affects reading, spelling, and sometimes writing, and yet it has nothing to do with intelligence. I mean, here in South Africa, where children learn in multiple languages and often face uneven schooling conditions, dyslexia can be difficult to identify and also to offer support. So today I want us to unpack what it looks like in our classrooms, but also how the education system should be responding and what can be done to help learners reach their potential. If you know, or you or anyone close to you has dyslexia, I'd like you to share how they have dealt with that. Maybe you're a teacher and this is something you've had to respond to. I'd like you to call us on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Sarah Rich is a speech and language therapist at Bella Vista School who's going to guide us through this conversation. Sarah, thank you so much for making time. Good morning.
Morning, Clement. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. So there's a common belief that dyslexia, simply means seeing or writing letters backwards. Could you perhaps help us debunk that myth and explain what dyslexia is and what it isn't?
Right, yes. So dyslexia is actually to do with the processing and the sounds of language and then how those carry through into written words and to reading those words. So it's not necessarily seeing letters back to front, but it's how you hear sounds in words and then how you learn to spell them and read them.
And how common is it in South Africa?
It's very common. The stats in South Africa are not as accurate as the world stats, but if we're looking worldwide, we're looking at around about a 7% incidence. So that we'd say about around 5 to 10% of children in South Africa actually present with dyslexia. But as you mentioned at the beginning, it is quite hard to differentiate when we're also dealing with learning in one language and switching in grade 3, or also that there might not be the best instruction in literacy, and differentiate what is actually the learning difficulty versus just how you've been taught.
Are there actually cultural or even language factors that make this condition harder to detect in South African learners?
So the thing is that there is a very strong component and link to language difficulties. So not depending on what your language is, but if you have got a language learning difficulty innate in you, then you are much more likely to then also experience difficulties with literacy going on. And then also if you consider that for some of our learners, they're educated in their mother tongue from grade 1 to 3, and then having to switch to a different phonetic sounding language to English from then on, that is very complex to then translate into reading and writing when you've learned one whole phonetic system in one language and you're having to change to another.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of training then do teachers receive to help them identify and support learners with dyslexia?
So it is quite a complex condition, and it does involve sort of extra understanding and awareness and development, and not all our teachers have got training in that. We are currently trying to spread the word at our training institute and to try and build up training. We actually have got a cohort of teachers coming from the Department of Education from Mpumalanga this week for extra training in dyslexia and special strategies on how to intervene in the classroom. But it is something that's not always covered in the actual usual teaching curriculum because it is quite specialized. And it is something that we would love to try and get out there so that all teachers can be aware and all families so that we can start to help children as early as possible.
Yeah, so would you say then identifying this much earlier helps in also managing the condition?
Definitely. The earlier, the better. Ideally, if we can provide intervention, and that's extra specialized, specific literacy intervention for learners in the early foundation phase, grade R, grade 1, grade 2, you really can make a difference to their whole learning trajectory from there on. So early identification is the best. You can even start screening in preschool, in nursery school age, looking at children and seeing any children who are struggling with rhyming their words or struggling to syllabify words or clap them out, or, you know what I mean, if you're noticing that they've got a speech difficulty, because that often also then translates later on into having a literacy difficulty. There's quite a strong correlation. You can already then start giving extra support and building them up. And the more you do earlier on, the bigger difference, because otherwise it compounds, almost like compound interest, that the further you go up the academic trajectory into the senior phase, the more of a delay and has been built up, if that makes sense.
Got it. What are some of the early warning signs that parents and the teachers should be aware of, especially from even preschool level, maybe even right through to primary school?
Yeah, so I think at preschool level is what our children are starting to do is they're starting to become more aware of sounds in words. So they start to play with words, they start to rhyme, they're aware of rhyming words. They can hear what the first sound is in a word, and do you know what I mean? And they can syllabify words. So if you notice your child is struggling with that, or as a teacher you notice that in the classroom, you then immediately would say, okay, that's something we need to consider quite strongly. We also have a very strong genetic link with dyslexia. So if you have anyone in your family who has struggled with learning to read or write in their schooling career, it's important to just be aware that that child then has got more of a risk And then, as I said, anyone who presents with speech problems, so if they've got an articulation error where they battle to say certain sounds and words, it then does often link to later having a difficulty with reading and writing. So those are some of the early warning signs. Once we get into primary school, our grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 learners, when we see the child is reading, it's effortful, it's hard work, and it's slower. If they're having a lot of spelling errors, or if they're very, very reluctant to read aloud, that is often some of the warning signs that we need to look at. If they don't know their alphabet with ease, do you know what I mean? Like by grade 2 level, you want your children to be able to, if they see a letter, know the letter's name, know its letter sound, without having to think about it. But if that is still difficult and slow and they're making mistakes inconsistently, then again, we are aware and we must start looking at what extra support we can give.
Yeah. And of course, some families will always say, when we pick up these signs, they're told, just wait and see, or give the child more time to catch up. What would you advise parents who often get told that? Because I would imagine waiting too long actually makes things harder for that child.
Absolutely. So, I think one of the key messages is parents, we need to advocate for our children. And if you're told to wait and see, don't. Wait and see is never going to be in the best interest of the child. We can always do something. We can always start and go, okay, but right now, there's already things that are worrying us. Let's start working on these small things because they all add up and every step leads to the next step in literacy. You need to have your base foundational skills strong. So there might be some people say, oh no, you can only diagnose it as such from this age onwards. But it doesn't matter what intervention you're providing is the same. So even if you don't have an accurate diagnosis, you can see this child is struggling with letter sounds or to write. Let's make an effort right away, immediately. So it does mean that some parents might have to advocate quite hard for their children or step up and start doing some things themselves at home, especially in a classroom where the teacher's got 50, 60 learners. Do you know what I mean? It might have to be an onus on a family member saying, okay, let me get whatever help I can, reach out and start doing some stuff myself at home to help my child.
Yeah. All right. 011-883-0702. After the break, I'll take your calls. I'll take your WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. We're discussing dyslexia this morning, trying to understand it better on our health and wellness feature. If you perhaps have a child who struggles with this, maybe you struggled with it, how did you manage it? I want you to share your experiences with us. Or maybe you've got some questions for Sarah Rich here. You can just bring them up on the call or send us a voice note on 072-702-1702.
Got your attention? That's the power of advertising.
Prime Media is SA's leading media company, giving you unmatched reach across radio, audio, video, and digital. That's what you'll experience at the Prime Impact Sales Event.
In Joburg, 3 to 7 November. Cape Town, 10 to 13 November. Register and receive a free demo commercial, a custom campaign, and access to exclusive partnerships.
Seats are filling fast. Register today at primeimpact.co.za.
Looking for your next big business deal? Make the smart move and switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. You could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. For plumbing, electrical, tradesmen services, and other industries, Outsurance Business Insurance are trusted experts in insuring your business. Get more out of your business insurance. Get a quick and easy quote today. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. Licensed, insured, and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
The motor racing event Cape Town has been waiting for is finally here. Get ready for the Speed Classic Cape Town. Over 140 historic cars, race cars, and supercars will compete in a full throttle showcase of motion, sound, and style. Experience the ultimate speed test as the legends of yesterday meet the icons of tomorrow. The Speed Classic Cape Town takes place on Philip Khosana Drive on October 25th and 26th. Get your tickets at Web Tickets today.
702.
Health and wellness.
14 minutes before 12 o'clock, we're taking your calls on 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. We're speaking to Sarah Rich, who's a speech and language therapist at Bella Vista School If you've got some questions, you've got some inputs, you want to share your experience with us, please do so. There's a message here from Waynard who says, "Hi Clement, I recently realized that I am dyslexic, but at the age of 49, I believe it's because I have English and Afrikaans speaking parents. I speak both Afrikaans and English. I can spell English, but I struggle to spell in Afrikaans." I mean, is it as easy as that, Sarah, to then decide whether or not you do have dyslexia, or are there other things here to consider?
So I don't think it actually has anything to do whether you speak, if you're bilingual or not. In fact, all the research shows that more languages that a child or an adult speaks, the better it is for your linguistic development in your brain. So we actually encourage bilingualism, so it won't be a precursor for dyslexia at all. You might have already had that profile, and that is something that you would have found difficult anyway. It is quite interesting for me that he says that it's more difficult to spell in Afrikaans, because Afrikaans is actually an easier language to spell phonetically than English. English is one of the most complex languages around to spell in, but I suppose it depends on what your schooling was in, and how you were trained, like taught to read and write, and what phonetic system you were taught.
Here's a WhatsApp voice note.
Good morning,
Sorry?
Clement, and your guest. I don't know anyone in particular who has dyslexia. However, over the years, I've noted that most actors, whether in the UK or in the USA, they have said that they suffered from dyslexia. So my question to your guest is dyslexia, are people with dyslexia are good at creative arts? Thanks, Dima.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Dima. Yeah, Sarah?
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that. And it is true, is that dyslexia is just one part of a person, and it has nothing to do with your intelligence. And it is often noted that one of the strengths that people with dyslexia have is creative thinking, innovation, unique ways of doing things. So that is quite interesting that a lot of actors do actually admit that. You also often are very strong verbally, because you're having to talk your way around the situation, etc. So that is why acting is a really great area to go into. And another thing that comes out is that because dyslexia involves having to sort of build quite a growth mindset, and that you have to do hard things, you're having to learn to put in a lot more effort to learn to read and write, and a lot more work. You develop resilience and grit and quite a, you know what I mean, strong qualities, which can then really help you, where I think in the acting world you also need a bit of grit and resilience to really become famous, and you know what I mean, to make it in the big time. And it really is one of the skills that you develop, is that ability to have that growth mindset if you are working so hard at it.
When should the parents and the teachers consider seeking a formal assessment? You've spoken about the importance of early intervention.
Yes.
Yeah. So when would you say that, whether you're a parent or a teacher, you should seek that formal assessment, especially when you're not sure?
As soon as you're concerned. I always believe a parent's instinct, and mom knows, and the teachers know as well. You're working with so many children. So as soon as there is a level of concern, if you're looking out for the child's best interest, I would straight away look at doing that assessment. You can look at going to either an educational psychologist who would run a whole battery of formal tests and look at all these different areas, and they could actually diagnose dyslexia. And they might not at first, because the idea is that you might say a child is at risk for dyslexia because they're presenting with quite a lot of literacy difficulties. But until intervention has been put in place, maybe this is something we could, with the right intervention, correct. Do you know what I mean? You could also go and see a speech and language therapist who would do a full comprehensive assessment and find out exactly which underlying areas are needed to support this child. So I just think as soon as there is even an inkling of concern, go and look into it further.
What practical multisensory strategies do you think can be used at home to support a child who's struggling with reading or spelling?
This is my absolute passion. So there is so many great ideas. I think what you have to do as a parent is, if you're at home and you're trying to get those spelling words right, or the list of reading words, and the child is struggling, is almost put yourself back in your childhood shoes and think, okay, what did I love doing when I was a kid? So ideas we encourage is, for example, is to go and get, and it doesn't have to be very complex or messy. It can be sometimes simple things like get a paintbrush, dip it in water, and go and write outside on the paving and write the letters nice and big. Then say, okay, we've written the word, say the word is band. We've written it nice and big and we've sounded it out, and. All right, let's now go and jump it out and jump each word. And the more senses you use in the body, the more your brain is starting to get a stronger neural connection. So you could say, okay, now we've painted it, we've jumped it out with our body. Now we could even go and write it with some chalk and get a different texture. Now we could go and write it in the sand and feel it in a different way. And the more times you repeat and overlearn, and also different ways you do it, the better the neural connection grows, and the more the child is able to actually take on that and retain it meaningfully, as opposed to just quickly writing it down once. So yeah, get as creative as you can and let the child lead. Often they know what their body needs. They'll say to you, oh, I'm going to jump the word today. Cool, let's jump it. Or I want to write big on the window. If you write with whiteboard markers on big windows, it comes straight off. It's awesome. They think it's amazing to write on the windows. So just, try and our best friend these days, ChatGPT, you can pop it in there and say, what suggestions do you have for multisensory ways for me to get my child to do his homework? It'll give you a nice long list.
Okay. So, and of course, sometimes we focus on the challenges that come with the condition. But as someone who's dealt with this for some time, what hidden talents or abilities do you often see in dyslexic learners?
I think it's the ability to just keep on trying. And if you think about how much literacy is part of our lives every day in every way, I mean, the essential of grade 1 to 3 is learning to read, and then from then on you're having to use reading to learn. So it's in their faces all day, every day. And if this is hard for you all day, every day, it really is. You learn to that ability to just keep on going, even when it seems so easy for other people, and for you it is so difficult. That absolute inner determination and drive to just keep trying. It's absolutely amazing to work with children when you're working at that level.
Yeah. I want to ask about like the confidence on the children. How do they get affected? And because there's then the importance of the support structure being there from the parents, from the teachers.
Important.
How do they get affected? Because I think at some point they can see that they are a little different from the other kids.
Especially because it's not affecting their intelligence. So cognitively, they know what's going on. They're understanding it. So they're very aware of the fact that this is difficult for me. You do need a lot of support. I think sometimes learners can feel frustrated, and they actually get cross, and then that can sometimes lead to a behavioral difficulty. And we must remember all behavior is communication. If the child is suddenly acting out, why are they acting out? Maybe it's because they're frustrated at how difficult this is. Sometimes it can be an embarrassment and they avoid the task, which is totally understandable. Self-preservation. If you had to do something that was really hard and you knew there was a high chance you might fail at it, of course you would try and avoid it. You might act out and become a bit like a class clown, or joking around and I don't care about this work, because it's easier than doing that than going, actually, I know I'm not going to be able to do it properly. So there's often sometimes avoidance, and there often is low self-esteem and low motivation to continue working so hard if there isn't a lot of support and build-up and belief in the child. And that self-esteem can sometimes be masked, and they might be holding it together so hard at school, and they get home, and often we see this with our children, is they get home and they let it out on their families, because that is your safe space. And that's where you can relax and go, actually, that was so hard today, and become difficult at home, or a little bit, irrational, etc. But if you understand the bigger picture of how much you're having to face every day, especially if you're unsupported, it really does put it into context.
Got it. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for making time for us. Or maybe before I even let you go, because I still have about 20 seconds, what do you think there needs to be done from our government and even from our schools? It's Dyslexia Awareness Month. Yes. I do think that there's more that can be done to raise awareness. There's more that can be done to support those that have this condition.
Yes, absolutely. I think the more we can absolutely build up our teachers and give our teachers the knowledge and the tools of how to support children with this, especially in a classroom with 40, 50 learners, do you know what I mean? And what's interesting is the strategies you would use to help a child with dyslexia, the structured literacy and being able to do things in a multisensory manner will help all children to read. It's not like, oh, you can only use those strategies with dyslexia. They will make all children better readers, and we know our literacy rates are not great in South Africa.
Yeah.
So I think the more that we could focus on equipping our teachers, giving them the skills and the understanding of how to build this up, especially in our preschool and foundation phase, we could make such a difference to all children's reading, but especially supporting our dyslexic learners.
Yeah. Sarah Rich, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and thank you for the work that you continue to do in the space. Speech and language therapist at Bella Vista School, Sarah Rich. It's 3 minutes before 12.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
We have Julius Malemo. Should he also still be part of that ad hoc committee, given the fact that he's now convicted criminal?
He did indicate that he's going to appeal that verdict against him. But if then we want to promote ethical leadership in South Africa, tomorrow, if our hands are found to be in a cookie jar, he's supposed to not to participate. And then until he wait, there will be other opportunities in the future.
Professor Jacob Mufokeng, independent crime and security expert.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
In a world where everything is instant, some things are worth slowing down for. You took the time to build a life of distinction. Every moment, every milestone, every decision. At Indwe, we take the time to understand your world and craft insurance solutions to protect it. Because true peace of mind is the greatest luxury of all. The right insurance starts with a conversation. It starts with helloindwe.co.za. Indwe Risk Services is an authorized financial services provider.
Let me get this right, Ron. You're a plumber by day and Pretoria's smoothest wedding DJ by night.
Yeah, it started out as a passion and now I've got bookings until December. And a smoke machine that needs its own seatbelt.
And you sold your car to buy a van through We Buy Cars.
Brew, it was music to my ears. Zero admin, no long queues. They pulled in, checked it out, and before I knew it, I had cash in the bank.
Now that's a banger. We Buy Cars. Geared for your passion, geared for you.
Phishing, quishing, smishing, so many ishings. Aibo, scammers are doing the most these days. From dodgy SMSs to fake QR codes, hacked WhatsApps and asking for your PIN. If it ends in ishing, stay alert. It's probably ishing your money. Scams can happen anywhere. And if unsure, contact ABSA on 0860 557 557. Protect your money. Protect your story. ABSA. Your story matters. An authorized financial services provider.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
Hello, Mandy Wiener.
Hello, Clement Manyathela.
So I've got you on the show tomorrow between 10 and 11 o'clock. We're going to be talking about your book that's come out. I've been seeing it at the airports, seeing it as exclusive books. I'm really looking forward to our chat tomorrow between 10 and 11 o'clock. It's going to be so much fun. And guys, as I've said, this is stuff that happened behind the scenes that even us who are political journalists who follow these things didn't even know about. Some of the secret meetings. So tomorrow between 10 and 11 o'clock, some of you are already coming through tomorrow to be part of the live audience. So we can't wait to see you. What's coming up on the Midday Report today?
There's a delay at the ad hoc committee hearings into the police. General Konazi is due to give evidence, so we'll explain that. An inquiry into the Road Accident Fund has begun before Scopa. We'll get reaction to the ANC's 10-point economic plan. City Power's in court, an urgent application to have the Hawks raid declared illegal, and then currently underway also interview for Concourt and SCA vacancies and a COSATU march as well.
All right, that's what you can expect on the Midday Report and more. I'll be back with you tomorrow between 9 and 12. Thank you for listening to the show, the Tuesday edition. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. 6 South African activists who were detained by Israeli forces have arrived in Jordan. The group was part of more than 400 other activists from around the world who were intercepted while trying to reach Gaza to deliver aid. The international was informed by Israeli authorities about their release. The South African activists who are now safely in Jordan include the grandson of late former President Nelson Mandela, Mandela. Minister Ronald Lamola says they are pleased that the activists are safe.
They were all involved in a noble cause for humanitarian aid for the people of Gaza. We continue to call for all fights to cease and for all bombardment of civilian infrastructure to stop.
Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry into corruption within the criminal justice system has hit a snag today after EFF leader Julius Malema raised concerns about a statement submitted by KZN top cop Konazi. Malema asked under what basis would Konazi take an oath before his testimony without a new statement submitted to the committee. Konazi is expected to give testimony in the parliamentary inquiry just 2 weeks after appearing before the Madlanga Commission to unpack allegations he made in July this year. Malema argued that Konazi cannot take an oath without a fresh statement submitted to the committee.
He says General Konazi took an oath at the Madlanga Commission, and therefore, because he took an oath at Madlanga Commission, because we do what Madlanga has done, why should he take an oath here if that's how it works? He disposed the statement at Madlanga. This statement at Madlanga is the statement before us. Going to take an oath twice on the same statement. On the same statement. There's no law that says that.
Let's stay in Parliament, where the Road Accident Fund says it's clearing the backlog of thousands of unprocessed claims, but in many cases, claimants are just trying their luck. It's day one of the parliamentary inquiry into malfeasance at the fund. Deputy Minister of Transport, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, says the inquiry is running parallel to a legislative review conducted by his department. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
This is the first inquiry conducted by the Standing Committee of Public Accounts in the 7th Administration into the finances and governance at the beleaguered Road Accident Fund. It follows several visits by this committee in the previous administration, led by the former committee chairperson, now Deputy Minister Mkhuleko Hlengwa. Scopa chairperson Zongezo Zibi says this probe is not necessarily intended to apportion blame on individuals.
When people hear the word inquiry, they sometimes think somebody will be found guilty of something at the end of it.
The fund has not met the deadline to submit an annual report to Parliament this year, with Hlengwa promising to do so by Friday.
There were matters which were not concluded in the audit process by the entity and the AG, and we have asked for late submission.
The inquiry has begun with 6 RAF officials, mostly all in an acting capacity, explaining the claims process to MPs. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
We'll shift our focus to this now. An IPID investigation into a deadly incident involving 3 children and an SAPS vehicle in Delft, Cape Town is continuing. At the weekend, 3 police officers were driving in a state vehicle attending to a complaint of a murder. It's understood the police vehicle swerved to avoid a taxi coming from the opposite direction when it drove into a Wendy house where 3 children were playing. An 11-year-old girl died at the scene and 2 others, both aged 10, were taken to hospital. IPID's Palati Shuping says they're probing a case of culpable homicide and reckless and negligent driving.
IPID confirms investigations into an incident where a police vehicle allegedly drove into 3 children in Delft, Western Cape on Saturday. It is alleged that the driver of the police vehicle was trying to avoid an oncoming taxi, but he unfortunately drove into 3 children.
And in the U.S., Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House. This will mark Carney's 2nd visit to the U.S. this year. The visit is aimed at getting trade talks between the 2 countries back on track. Canada is the only G7 country yet to reach a trade deal with Trump this year. Carney has faced domestic pressure to secure a deal with the U.S. that would lower tariffs, especially for hard-hit sectors like steel as well as lumber. Gold is trading at $3,958.43 an ounce. The rand is at 17.20 to the dollar, 23.11 to the pound, 20.06 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $65.53 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, if you are leaving the Alexandra area heading towards Midrand, we still have slow-moving traffic. This is in the Calvin area, N3 northbound between Modderfontein Road and the Patrines Change, while in the Mother City, accident scene, M5 northbound approaching the Koeberg interchange, causing heavy delays, and the Huguenot Tunnel remains closed off to traffic.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 28 and 30 degrees, while Cape Town is partly cloudy with variable winds at a high of 18. The top story in EWN this hour: 6 South African activists who were detained by Israeli forces have now arrived in Jordan.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Mandy Wiener on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. On the show today, a delay at the ad hoc committee hearings into police as General Konazi waits to begin his evidence. An inquiry into the road accident fund begins. We'll get reaction to the ANC's 10-point economic plan. City Power's urgent application to have the Hawks raid declared illegal, and interviews for the Concord and SCA vacancies underway. All of that over the next hour.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Good to be with you today. Today is due to be the start of the ad hoc committee in Parliament's hearings into police corruption and capture. So we were expecting KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Konazi to make his first appearance. There's been a spanner in the works there. Of course, there's been a spanner in the works. Where does it come from? From the EFF's Julius Malema. We'll explain that. You can send me WhatsApp voice notes 072 702 1702. 072 567 1567. What are your thoughts on the ANC's 10-point economic plan? I think that there is some of it that's really, really good. So I really like the support for small and medium enterprises, the infrastructure investment. There's some really good elements to it. But do you think it goes far enough, or do you think it needs to address employment equity as an example? Are there things that you would have liked to have heard the president say yesterday when he announced the ANC's economic plan? Send me a WhatsApp voice note 072 702 1702. But let's start in Parliament. There's actually 2 inquiries starting today. The one is the road accident fund inquiry. That is Scopa is hearing that, as you heard in EWN. And then, of course, there is that one that is being led by the ad hoc committee. Oh, sorry, just clearing my throat there. So let's first find out about why there was a delay today. The EFF's Julius Malema raising a concern about a lack of an affidavit, only a supplementary affidavit being handed in by the KZN Police Commissioner. Take a listen to what Julius Malema had to say, and the sound is courtesy of Newsroom Africa.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And good morning, colleagues and General. I don't understand on which basis do you want General Mkhwanazi to take an oath? Because before us, we have no statement of General Mkhwanazi. We have a supplementary statement. Supplementing what? Because he must first depose to us a statement, and if there is anything to be supplemented, it should be done so. The statement we have is a statement he disposed to the Commission. We have said to this legal team, time and again, that we are not a junior committee of the Commission. There is no statement of General Mkhwanazi before us. There is a statement of General Mkhwanazi to the Commission. And therefore, in the absence of his statement to the ad hoc committee of Parliament On which basis do you want him to take an oath? You should know, Chair, that a supplementary statement should be supplementing the original affidavit if you wish to say so. There is no such. And therefore, General Konazi is not proper before us. And this legal team has failed us because in the deliberation, we made it very clear, if colleagues are honest with each other, we repeatedly said we cannot use the statement of the commission. We are not a junior of the commission. We have nothing to do with what the commission is doing. We are a parliament, a committee of parliament. Now you want to use a material that is being used and sourced by a commission established by the executive in this separate arm of the state. It is wrong, it is unconstitutional. We have to do things properly. And the proper way is, there must be an original statement to us as an ad hoc committee, and if they so wish to be a supplementary statement, let it be. I even said, it doesn't matter, Chair, in that meeting. I said, we can even say to General Konazi, the first pages of that commission statement, where the statement is directed to a commission, they can be amended to say the ad hoc committee of parliament, and we have something that is directed to us, which will become our property, which will go into the archives of parliament as General Konazi's statement to parliament. In the history of this parliament, when our children and grandchildren and children of children are going to be looking for General Konazi's statement to parliament, they won't find it in the archives. So it's not proper before us. And the legal team is to be blamed, not himself. Thanks.
Julius Malema complaining there about the lack of a founding affidavit. Look, I don't agree with him. I've always been concerned that there's going to be duplication, that the focus will be on the Madlanga inquiry, and this oversight committee won't necessarily be taken seriously. But it also just keeps getting delayed. It was supposed to start in the beginning of August, and we keep seeing delays. Babalo Ndenze, EWN reporter, is there for us. Babalo, good afternoon to you. Thanks for your time. What's the current status of today's hearings?
Good afternoon, Mandy. Yes, indeed. Currently, the members are meeting behind closed doors. Members of the media, the public, were requested maybe half an hour ago to vacate the venue so that they can discuss this legal technicality and how they move forward from now on. So the members are still, deliberating with the evidence leader, Advocate Norman Arendse, as well as his team that's assisting him, of two junior counsel advocates as well. So they are basically now trying to decide how they're going to move forward with this technicality or this lack of an original statement or affidavit from Clement Manyathela. The issue over the supplementary is still persisting, but some members that I did manage to speak to, between the breaks, say that it looks like it might be a minor matter, but the members, will always discuss these things at length to be absolutely sure. Members were saying that they don't want to be caught, with a legal problem, down the line when they get taken to court because of, this technical issue over the original statement. But before that, Advocate Arendse did tell the members that, he's been informing them. They've had a number of meetings before today's hearing started, where he informed the committee that, they are cooperating with the Madlanga Commission evidence leaders. He meets with them every week or every other day, so they've been in communication with the Madlanga Commission, since it started. And he's been reminding members that, there won't be any material difference to the evidence that will be presented by Clement Manyathela, as much as the terms of reference are different, but a lot of the things that he said that are stemming from that 6th of July press conference will also arise at the Parliamentary ad hoc committee, as much as they did 2 weeks ago before the Judge Madlanga Commission. So they are now finalizing this matter, Mandy. And, the scope of the investigation, Arendse also reminding members that it's looking mainly at political interference, as well as questionable tenders, the 360 million rand healthcare tender involving, Vusumuzi Cat Matlala. They want to look at, parliamentary oversight and how this committee or how Parliament or the police committee or any other oversight committee has conducted itself in looking at these issues that were raised by Clement Manyathela even earlier this year, not even in July, in March this year. So, it's quite clear that their terms of reference are different, which is why he came with the statement that, might feature some details from the Madlanga Commission. And this is a matter that most members, including the MK Party, as well as the EFF, have objected to, saying that, you can't make us a junior to the Madlanga Commission. We don't want any details from that to be part of our process. We want to start from scratch. We want an original statement that deals with our terms of reference and the scope of our inquiry. So currently, Mandy, that's where they are at the moment. But, we should get an idea in the next few minutes once they open up, and whether Konazi will indeed be giving his evidence today. We know he's set for the next 2 days. Today will be evidence leader Norman Arendse that will be putting questions to him and going through his statement, etc., as well as that 6th July press conference. The members of the committee will only tomorrow be able to, put their own questions tomorrow to Konazi. But that all depends, Mandy, on whether they are able to resolve their issues today around these legal technicalities.
Babalo, thank you for wrapping that all up for us. Babalo Ndenze, EWN reporter. So let's see what happens there, whether that will get sorted out. Are you worried about a duplication that we're seeing at the Madlanga inquiry, what's happening there, and then we'll see this ad hoc committee? Is Julius Malema correct when he says we don't want to be the, what did he say? The younger sister or something, the stepchild, I can't remember what he said. You have to remind me of the Madlanga inquiry. So are you worried about that duplication, or do you think it's necessary? It is democratic. We need to have accountability. That's why Parliament is there, the separate arms of government, the three separate arms, the legislative, the administrative, and then the judiciary as well. So I think we need to have that oversight from Parliament. Do you think then, do we need the inquiry as well, or do you think they serve different purposes?
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
The Gauteng High Court today hearing City Power's urgent application to have the Hawks raid at its headquarters declared unlawful. City Power saying that those search warrants used to raid its offices were invalid. The Hawks have been investigating several dodgy City Power contracts totaling more than R500 million. Alpha Ramashwana, EWN reporter, is in court for us. Alpha, good afternoon to you. Thanks for your time today. Tell us about the argument being made by City Power.
Good afternoon, Mandy. City Power argues that the search warrant that was issued by the Hawks to grant them access to City Power's headquarters was invalid. And in their papers and in their arguments, the power utility is saying that the search warrant was vague and did not necessarily specify what they wanted to achieve by searching the premises of Joburg City Power. And those are the arguments that the power utility has taken to the court to say that normal search warrants are very specific as to what they would like to seize. However, the affidavit, or the search warrant rather, by the Hawks did not necessarily specify what they wanted to seize and search. And so City Power has taken this to court today. The matter did appear in court very briefly. It has now been postponed to Friday to allow the Hawks to submit their responding affidavits, Mandy. But I'm joined now by City Power spokesperson Isaac Mangena, who was with me in court today. Mangena, the case has been postponed to Friday to allow the Hawks to file their answering affidavits. What is your response to this delay?
Look, the delay is disappointing because the City Power have always been ready for this matter to be heard today so that we can be granted the relief that we have been seeking, which involves in Part A the halting, the challenging of the warrant itself, and then also the halting of the execution of that warrant. So we are looking forward to basically sitting before the judge when the matter sits on Friday. But as City Power, we're ready. The whole week, as you know, that we basically filed this affidavit. We filed the intention last week on Sunday, and the whole week we were waiting for the papers from the Hawks, and they never came. They only came last night to City Power, but not to the judge. But we are ready, and I think we will be able to defend this matter as City Power.
And City Power is arguing that the search warrant by the Hawks is quite vague and doesn't specify what they want to achieve by searching the premises. Does it not seem like you have something to hide as City Power? Why aren't you allowing them to continue the investigations?
Look, what we are saying is that we want the Hawks to do their work properly and be able to obtain the warrant in the defined processes that are there out there. We want the warrant that also has specifics and parameters of what they want to do and which companies they want to look at and exactly who they are investigating. But theirs does not even have anything to that effect. It's broad. They wanted the whole server at City Power. We said we've got the responsibility City Power to protect the integrity of the information within the servers. We've got the customers whose information is in the server, and we don't know what you're going to do with this information. We've got contractors that we are not investigating, whose details are also within the very same servers. So if you are saying you are looking for so-and-so company, then we'll be able to assist you in terms of getting that, or assist you in terms of getting or executing your warrant to look into those issues so that they can be done. City Power is not objecting to this investigation. In fact, we have been cooperating with this investigation since it started in November 2024, and we'll continue to do so.
Well, there you have it. That was the spokesperson of City Power, Isaac Mangena. Just for context, one of the cases that the Hawks is investigating, Mandy, is a 64 million rand contract to supply electricity to transformers. However, despite that money being paid, the transformers were not delivered, and that is one of the cases that the Hawks are investigating as far as City Power is concerned.
Alpha, thank you so much for that. Alpha Ramashwana, EWN reporter, speaking there to the City Power spokesperson as well. The Gauteng High Court hearing that urgent application to have the Hawks raids at the electricity entity's headquarters declared unlawful. Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. Their team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
CIRA is reintroducing printed ink certificates, now available as a paid optional service. You can now request your printed certificate online and collect it at your nearest CIRA branch. This service is in response to industry requests. Remember, your digital certificate remains valid and you can view it online. For more information, please contact 08613333850 or info@cira.co.za.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a parent shuttling his kids, with a back seat full of chatter, laughter, lunchboxes, and lost shoes. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a regular yet special slice of a family's life. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Good day, Mandy. Mandy, just a quick one. Please explain. So, Julia says there's no law that he can take an oath on the same statement. Is there a law preventing him to give the same statement? If there's no law preventing him from giving the same statement because it's the same topic, it does not make sense to want a new statement on the same topic unless he's just being special, Juju as usual.
Good afternoon, Mandy, the producers, and 702 listeners. So says the man who's been convicted that Parliament must be honest with each other and all that sort that he's trying to explain. But I don't understand what he means by honesty. Sounds strange.
To be fair, Julius Malema spent a lot of time sitting in court recently, so I think he might know a bit about criminal procedure at this point. I don't know the answer to that question. I think that's what's being discussed right now, is whether or not there is legislation that says that you can't or you can submit the same affidavit. I imagine the lawyers will say, well, it's fine. It's the same affidavit. It's the same facts. It's the same case. So it shouldn't be a problem. Lots of response on the WhatsApp line. Joan saying, Julius should not even be there. He has a criminal case against him. I rest my case. Nice show, Mandy, as always. Thank you. Just remember, he is appealing that judgment. That would be his argument. Only once that appeal is finalized will there be clarity on whether he can remain as an MP or not.
702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays 12 to 1 p.m.
So yesterday we had that announcement from the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, about the 10-point economic recovery plan. This is how the ANC intends to change the economics in the country. There was a special NEC meeting held at the weekend to discuss this. And I mentioned earlier that some of it I really like, some of it not necessarily. But let's get some analysis now from economist Duma Qubule, who joins us to speak about this. Duma, good afternoon to you. Thanks for your time. What are your thoughts on the 10-point recovery plan from the ANC?
You know, Mandy, it was so lame. You know, I think the president needs to understand what impact this economic collapse is having on his legacy. Objectively, this presidency is the worst in terms of economic performance, is the worst since 1994. To explain a bit more, under Jacob Zuma and the state capture, GDP growth was 4 times higher than we've had under this presidency since 2018. I think he has to get a grip on that. This is about, our economy has collapsed over the past 16 years. We've had GDP growth of 1.1%. Our GDP per capita last year was lower than it was in 2017. It's going to decline again this year. So we will have had 18 years of declining living standards. And you can't aim a water pistol at a blazing inferno of unemployment with 12.6 million people who are unemployed and an unemployment rate of 42.9%. We're talking about unemployment rate of 47% for Africans, 51.4% for African women, and so it's just like, and 71.7% for youth. And in terms of the plan itself, you know, it's a repackaging. Those of us who follow this stuff, it's a repackaging of stuff that they've talked about before, and they've just changed the ordering and the emphasis of the different impacts of it, you know. Yeah. So I can tell you,
imagine Ramaphosa would argue that we're seeing the impact of state capture only now, and that's why.
9 years later, 9 years later, come on, you have to be serious. 9 years later, he was appointed to make things better under state capture. But what did we have? 6 years of darkness under Eskom from 2018 to 2024. He was appointed to make things better for Transnet, but the collapse of Transnet started in 2018. The same, I just can't, like, when are you going to run out of excuses? We can't be blaming apartheid for the situation. We can't be.
What would you have liked? No. What would you have liked to see in this economic plan from the ANC?
Okay, first of all, we have a macroeconomic crisis. You can't solve it with microeconomic reforms. And we've been saying this, this is what, So now you need a macroeconomic response. Now, what is happening now is that you've got almost like a gridlock on this economy because of the macroeconomic policies. You've got a primary budget surplus target of 2% of GDP. So this is money that they're sucking out of the economy every year over the past 3 years. And that coincides with GDP growth of less than 1%. And they want to continue this. And then we've got a central bank that targets inflation at 3%. And then that means interest rates higher for longer. So this economy needs breathing space. We need a stimulus for this economy. Anything that doesn't provide a stimulus to this economy is a waste of time.
So like a stimulus package or how
Yeah, you need a stimulus. What it means by definition, when we've had 18 years of declining average living standards, is that there's not enough money in the economy. So where is the money going to come from? It's not from the government, because the business can't invest in a collapsing economy.
Has massive debt. So where does the money
No, I look at this all the time. There is not. I don't know where to start, but it is not true that the government has. In 2024, central bank gave 150 billion rand to Treasury. During COVID, we ran down the surplus of the unemployment insurance fund. We spent 64 billion paying people who are unemployed temporarily, 13 million people. In that kitty, there's still 140 billion rands. We've got massive surpluses in the CETAs. My calculation is about 60 billion rand in the CETAs. We've got massive surpluses, I don't know, and our debt is not high by international standards. We need to. So if there are so many things we have to. There's no other solution. We have to stimulate this economy, lower interest rates, a bit more spending to increase demand in this economy here.
Duma, thank you so much. Duma Kubule, economist, speaking to us there. Reaction to the ANC's 10-point economic plan. What are your thoughts? Do you agree? What does a stimulus package look like? Do you think that's what we need in order to get our economy going? You can hear the frustration, the fact that unemployment is